Happy Saturday morning, SMITE fans, and welcome to day number 3 of the SWC Group Stage Qualifiers. Yesterday, we eliminated 2 teams from the tournament, and today, we're going to send our first 2 of these teams that are remaining to the SMITE World Championship quarterfinals. And all of this brought to us by our good friends over at Prime Gaming. There's a lot of things that you can get with a Prime membership between shipping, music, movies, all that kind of extra stuff for free. Link that over to your Twitch account. You get a free Twitch Prime sub to your favorite stream. You get free games every single month and free in-game content. And some of that in-game content you can get for SMITE right now. We have our SWC, our SPL team skins now available through Prime Gaming. So make sure that if you've got the QR code scanner, I don't even know how many people still end up using one of those, but if you got one, you can use it. I'm going to be honest, if I can't remember the last time I've used a QR code on anything.
It's like built into most phones.
I don't really use it if it's built into mine. So if you've got one, scan it right now. If not, you can go to gaming.amazon.com/smite and get your codes and get your skins now. One skin for every single team in the SMITE Pro League. So thank you so much for Prime Gaming for being the title sponsor of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. As you heard, I'm J-Mac. I got Mifflin joining me over on the desk as we go into our promotional Saturday. Every single match from here on, all best of 5s, and every single match will send at least one team to the SMITE World Championships.
Just an exciting time to watch SMITE. Anytime the stakes get higher and higher, obviously the games become more entertaining to watch. And for a lot of these teams, it's the highest stakes games they've played all year or maybe in their entire careers. So I'll be keeping my eyes firmly on the screen.
Yeah, this is going to be some big matchups here. As mentioned, every single game from here on is going to be best of 5s. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the brackets so you can see what our matches today are going to be. It's 2 promotional matches to start things out. The first of them, the Tartarus Titans and the Eldritch Hounds over in Group A. Winner of that goes to the SWC. Loser, not out because they are on the winner side of the bracket. Instead, the loser will face off against the Highland Ravens tomorrow to see which of those 2 teams will make it through, along with the winner of this one to the SWC. And then same thing can be said for Group B as we jump over towards that bracket here in just a moment to get a look at those. Oni Warriors and Hex Mambo will be the second set of today. Winner of that goes to SWC. Loser goes to face the Solar Scarabs, where there's a lot of potential for a full rematch. Remember, Hex Mambo got the 2-1 over the Solar Scarabs. Solar Scarabs came back with a 2-0 over the Shibalba Storm. Now await the loser. If Hex Mambo don't make it through, Mifflin, we could have a very, very exciting final best of 5 matchup.
A grudge matchup at that. It's just been a fight between these 2 brands. Sure, Solar Scarab's not the exact same roster that we had seen in previous events up against Hex Mambo, where they had won there as well, but clearly there's something about the Hex Mambo brand that could take on the Scarabs.
Yeah, we'll be seeing at least the Hex Mambo a little bit later on today. We'll be seeing the Solar Scarabs tomorrow, later on this weekend, but as mentioned, our first match of the day is going to be the Eldritch Hounds and the Tartarus Titans. The Titans looked a little bit shaky to start this tournament off in their matchup against the Highland Ravens. Eldritch Hounds with a commanding 2-0 over the Valhalla Valkyries. It was a fairly quick first game that at least went to the Eldritch Hounds, and then a bit more long-winded game number 2, but able to come out on top of there. And I think with the Eldritch Hounds, there's a lot of players that can be highlighted through here. We always used to talk about the duo lane, Dude Man Bro and Quig, always stepping up when it comes down to tournament time. Oathhh has always been a big playmaker. But another one that's really been standing out as of recent, really throughout the entire season, has been their mid laner, EruptCrimson. The good news is we've got him standing by for our pregame interview.
Hey, EruptCrimson, mid laner for the Eldritch Hounds. He's here with me. Crim, put it into context for me here. You guys finally are able to grab yourself a win over the Valhalla Valkyries. They're now home. We know for sure an SCC team is going to be making it to Worlds from this group, whether it's you guys, whether it's the Highland Ravens. Does that dream of making it to Worlds feel a bit more real now? You're just either a win today or a win tomorrow. If this one doesn't go your way, does it feel really close for you guys?
Yeah, something you said yesterday too was that there's 6 teams left and 4 of them are going to Worlds, and we're all just amazed that that our chances are really that high. But I think both SEC teams are gonna in this group gonna make it out. Yeah.
No kidding. All right. So are you thinking? I guess the way that has to work means you guys beat the Titans today, and then the Ravens would beat them tomorrow. Your lane matchup up against Paul. Look, when we talk about Worlds, you talk about Paul. It's such a storied career for him. Put it into context for me. Have you laned against Paul? What does this mean to you? Is this one of the more exciting lane matchups you've ever had?
I don't think I've ever actually played against Paul on game day, but obviously scrims and stuff, but it's completely different. But yeah, Paul Yeah, when it comes to Worlds, Paul's different. So I'm going to try my best. He hasn't been playing mages. He's been playing assassins, so it also makes it a little bit different. But we'll see. I'll try my best.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Does that, in your mind, change up some of what you maybe feel like you have to play? Because you have been playing some mages here this weekend. You've looked great on them. Do you feel like you might have to adapt your god picks, or is it a play your own game type of mentality?
Yeah, when it comes to assassins and mids, like matchups become like really important. So some mages do really bad into assassins, and some excel. So yeah, you have to shift your god pool and shift to what like Paul's playing assassin, so I'd have to shift to that. So there's a few picks that I'm going to be considering depending on what he picks.
Zoom out for me, because you feel like both SEC teams will make it from this group. Again, obviously meaning that you would win this match against the Titans. The Ravens would beat them later on. Do you just feel like as a team you match up effectively against the Titans specifically? Do you think you're just playing a better brand of SMITE right now? What gives you that confidence?
Yeah, so Ducky's really our main confidence. After we've added Ducky, yeah, everything just clicked, and we like just feel like as a team we're just playing so much better when we're all taking it serious and trying our best. And I just think, yeah, collectively, I don't think there's any singular matchup that like stands out. I think it's just as a team we play really well, and I think the Ravens looked amazing against the Valks yesterday. So I think we're both gonna take it.
The team, just final thoughts here. You step in, probably biggest game of the year for you guys so far here today. What's the mood like in the Hounds team booth?
Really quiet. Everyone's locked in. Everyone wants to win. We want to win now, and instead of having to play tomorrow. So.
That's right. Give yourself an extra day of rest. So excited to see this one. Thanks for your time. Best of luck. Back to the desk.
It seems that everybody on the Eldritch Hounds are dialed in for this matchup, and it is an important one. Remember, if they win this one against the Tartarus Titans, the Eldritch Hounds are at Worlds. I mean, we're guaranteed at least one SEC team making it to Worlds. Sounds like Krim is confident that there might even be two from this group alone, maybe thinking the Tartarus Titans won't make it there at all. But I want to kind of pick at what he said during that interview, which is adding Ducky to this team has given this team a whole new wave of confidence. And I think that's very important, not just in a LAN setting, but just for the team environment in general, is having that one person who can come through and boost everybody's morale up for game day.
Not only is it some veteran leadership, Ducky, of course, has been playing at the highest level for such a long time, but it really is just having somebody in high-stakes situations that can say, look, this is what we need to do. Let's keep focused. Let's not fall too far behind, and really clutch up as well. Ducky very used to these high-stakes games, and we saw him reflected in the set yesterday. What was it, 48 minutes in, he lands 5 pulls on Hercules into his own Phoenix just to keep the game alive. That's what that SPL tenure brings you.
Yeah. Going up against them is going to be the Tartarus Titans, and specifically against Crimson will be Paul in that mid lane. I think he also brings up a good point, is this is Worlds Paul now. You know, this is not regular season Paul who's just out there just gaming. Now he's just gaming for something a little bit bigger at stake at this point through.
Some commas
and
in his
also
bank account.
and also talking about some of those mid lane matchups. Paul has been playing a lot of the assassins. We've been seeing Pele, Set kind of pop into the god pool. We've also seen a few mages like the Hell, the Cronus has come through for Paul as of recent times, but I think dialing in onto the assassins, maybe the more important thing that Krim brought up there is that it just makes it so difficult for some mages to be able to even perform up against matchups like this.
Yeah, just a hyper-aggressive play style that will punish you for even the barest step out of bounds. You take 2 steps too close to Paul's minion wave when he's playing Set or Pele, and he'll punish you for it greatly, and you better believe because he's an assassin, he's capable of rotating into the jungle and taking your buffs there as well. So really excited to see what Paul does today. I do have a bit of confidence in the Hounds, having strategized against this. Hearing Crimson say there are a couple of mages I'm reflecting and thinking about, dependent on what Paul picks, tells me that Krim will likely hold on to his own pick in response. That said, Paul could very easily do the exact same thing, and it's something the Tartarus Titans are very used to. Give Paul a counter matchup, allow him to cook. And when Paul is cooking, especially this time of year, I mean, he looks like one of the best who have ever done it.
And I wonder how some of the rest of the team will be built around Paul. Sometimes we've seen compositions where they say, okay, let's get Paul's pick now, and then kind of build this 4 protect 1 style of composition. Sometimes we see the double style of carry between Paul and Stuart over in the duo lane as well. So I'm curious to see what kind of Tartarus Titans composition that we're going to be seeing, because ever since Cyno came onto the squad, it's felt like almost kind of a different dynamic with the team, you know, slotting in for Layers, who was kind of underperforming at the tail end of his career in phase number 3, now throwing Cyno into this mix. They said it felt like a good slot, and we'll see if that can pay off for them. A best-of-5 matchup between the Eldritch Hounds and the Tartarus Titans starts right here in game number 1, picks and bans. Eldritch Hounds actually taking that first pick slot, and I was going to say, probably one pick we will never get to see Cyno on unless it somehow gets forgotten about in like Game 4 or Game 5 scenario will be this Najah as the Eldritch Hounds take it off the board immediately.
Yeah, the only way Cyno gets back onto this pick is there's so much threat from other members of the Titans that you kind of have to ban them out. Maybe Paul has a phenomenal performance on things like Kronos and Set. You have to ban out both of those. SOT on his Athena or Hades might be a bit threatening. Could create space for Cyno a little bit later on, but Game 1, always stick to your standards, always stick to those standouts. And for the Tartarus Titans and for Cyno, it has been that Najah. I'm excited to see how this reflects in the jungle pool, though. I think this could be a matchup that is a bit contested between Oathhh and Cyno. We've seen Cyno in particular really lean towards the Nemesis in situations like this in the last 6 games, playing it 4 times total. It's not exactly firmly within Oathh's God pool. No stranger to playing the Nemesis himself, but instead I think Oathhh a little bit more focused on playing early game aggression, things like the Lancelot, the Thor, the Erlong. That's really what comes to mind when I think of him.
Now this is an interesting first pick for the Eldritch Hounds. Typically we've been seeing things like the Cyrnos or the Ishtar kind of first picks, but those have both been banned alongside the Agni from the Tartarus Titans, Set, Hades, and Najah from the Eldritch Hounds. Opens up this Danzaburou, which it feels like Dude Man's the only one of the SCC or one of the only players in this competition even playing this pick. Because typically it's been this Ram on the opposite side that the Tartarus Titans have locked in alongside the Sylvanus. We saw this yesterday with the Solar Scarabs. Now we're seeing it here for Aurora on the Titans.
It's a good amount of pressure, but I was expecting this. The Ram, sure, it makes perfect sense to me. You want to grab that early on. Still keeps the door open for a double Hunter composition if the Titans so choose. The Sylvanus being a pseudo-pressure pick in lane, those cleave auto attacks, the ranged autos, a little bit of sustain as well. All well and good, but Maui has just been so dominant recently and also brings a lot of that pressure in lane. Also has some of that non-committal initiation, like Sylvanus' pull, sure, on a longer cooldown, but much easier to execute on. I had thought it would have been Maui and Ram for the Titans there. The Hounds take note, realize it's still available, and take it for themselves immediately. So it will be Danzaburou and Maui versus Sylvanus and Ram. Duo lanes locked in for both of these teams. I wonder now where the Hounds look. Get Ducky on one of his best picks, something that can impact the map. Rotate out early as well. A true lane bully with the tier. Very, very difficult to shut down.
Tiamat.
We could be looking at a fair deal of, I was going to say mid lane mage bans here in the second phase, but instead, a shot out of left field. Tiamat for Paul.
I mean, this is something that Paul hasn't played consistently since really last season. I don't think really any mid laner has been picking up this outside of the EU SCC, where we see players like Angry maybe grab this one there. So
It's just about only
Tiamat, Ram, and Sylvanus, top 3 for the Titans. Danzaburou, Maui, Tier for the Eldritch Hounds. And as the bans start to fly through already, a shot at Crimson with a Vulcan ban, as well as a shot at Oathhh with the Lancelot, something that Oathhh has been playing fairly consistently as of recent. And then a Guan U ban, something to kind of take a poke at SOT and maybe kind of shut down some of the extra sustain that could have come towards this competition. But one more pick, or I should say one more ban for the Eldritch Hounds now. They focused out SOT because the solo hasn't been picked up yet on the side of the Tartarus Titans. I wonder if they'll keep that ban up, and it will be a Nemesis instead. So let's see something different out of Cyno now. As you said earlier, 4 of the last 6 for Cyno have been this Nemesis. Outside of that, Pele and Hunbat's the other 2 picks. We have also, and I'm not going to try and will into existence, but we have been seeing a lot of Chaac from Cyno when he first came up into the SPL. And I willed it into existence. I shouldn't have said anything, Myth, but here we are with the Chaac jungle for the Titans.
Clearly something they think that works out pretty well. I mean, damage in the early, you've got it. A little bit of slow potential can really lock down some of these less mobile picks. A post-rocket Danzaburou doesn't really have the greatest answers to the rain call from Chaac. Massive nuke ultimate in these late game team fights with huge disruption. When you think about Chaac on paper, it's just fine. But when you compare him to the other standard junglers with hard CC in their kit a little bit more consistently, it just makes it a bit more easy to execute on these ganks. I'm excited to see what the Chaac can bring, but it does make your team composition a bit hard CC light. Chaac is capable of burning beads with his ultimate, but the only other one that's really making use of it as of now is Sylvanus, and having both of their large CCs tied to their ultimates means that it could be pretty easy for the Hounds to utilize mobility to avoid one and then have the relic for the other. Curious to see how the team fight starts to pan out for the Tartarus Titans. Whereas the Hounds on the other end, I mean, you've got a pretty high kill pressure dual lane, an incredibly high kill pressure jungler now as well, Tyr, who can operate alone on an island, and a Baba Yaga for late game scaling. The majority of Crimson's favorite gods have already been banned out. It's the Vulcan and Agni for the most part. Has fallen back to the Thoth and Yanis at times. But the Baba Yaga, a slightly newer look for him, I think fits his playstyle well. When I think of EruptCrimson, I think standard mage player, wants to sit in that back line, wants to apply his damage from a range, has the capability to dive in with the rest of his team, but for the most part does like to play a bit more subdued on map. Baba Yaga fits that very well. Phenomenal self-peel tools, great ranged artillery damage. As Ullr is locked in for the Titans.
Is this going to SOT?
It's gotta be. I mean, he's been jamming it in ranked. It gets a whole lot of pressure. It's one of the most annoying things on the planet to lane against. But I wonder how that direct lane matchup begins to look. Ullr's primary strength in the laning phase is the continuous onslaught of damage. Doesn't even necessarily need to land the entire combo. So long as you're poking and prodding with hail of arrows or bladed arrow from a range, eventually you'll whittle away at these HP bars. But up against Tyr, power cleave, heal, get 3 points into it, all of a sudden I don't think Ullr's necessarily got the most kill presence. Wonder how the Tartarus Titans choose to play around this one. With a Chaac out of the jungle, you could probably just leverage the superior wave clear of this Ullr and start to look towards jungle buff invades, but as far as actual lane 1v1, so long as Ducky can survive the first 5 levels, he'll probably be just fine.
So I'm looking now at the Eldritch Hounds composition as a whole with an Awilix lock-in. Knockup's the name of the game. You have Maui with his pull from his ultimate. You have Tyr with any amount of fearlesses that he throws out. And even Baba Yaga going into the cabin, if there's somebody right around there, could maybe even be a setup for this Awilix. So it feels like that's a pretty easy note, at least for the Eldritch Hounds, to kind of get into this one. For the Tartarus Titans, you mentioned very hard CC light. Adding an Ullr only adds a single stun to that one. So for the Titans, Mifflin, where do they find their success to try and bring themselves a win in game number 1?
I think it's got to be the 5-on-5 engagement, right? When you look at how this pans out, I think it is very contingent on the Sylvanus and Chaac together. This is a team composition that completely rides on that frontline initiation. If it goes well and you create space for this Tiamat, she can carry in the late game through raw damage alone. Double Hunter draft means that even if only one of them survives, you still have the capability to move in towards a Fire Giant or a Gold Fury, or even just shred towers in situations like that. But this is a draft that is very high execution. If the Chaac ultimates aren't connecting, if they've been avoided consistently like we've seen in the past, the rest of this draft falls apart, because then it's only Sylvanus that's burning beads consistently. Very scary stuff here for the Tartarus Titans. A vote of confidence, maybe in some of the practice that they've had coming up until this point, but as far as play on field and ease of play is concerned, which I really heavily value in these high stakes events, especially in a best of 5, you want to give yourself the easiest time possible to find a win in that column. I would say the Hounds have got something that's just much easier to play.
Well, it is a best of 5 matchup. Game number 1 between the Eldritch Hounds and the Tartarus Titans. It's all got to start somewhere, so let's start it right here with Dulcin and Trelly.
We know an SEC team will be making it to Worlds from this group. Is it going to be right now at the end of this best of 5? The Eldritch Hounds, a chance to go to Worlds. The Tartarus Titans, Trelly, they were in the Worlds Finals last year. Have to play through this group stage tournament. Both teams, 2 bites at the apple. 1 today, 1 tomorrow for the loser. 2 best of 5s. 2 chances to qualify in. And what a story it would be for the Eldritch Hounds. You're able to beat the Titans here today and make your way to the SMITE World Championship. And in the pregame interview, Crimson seemed confident that not only they would get it done here against the Titans, but then the Ravens would get it done tomorrow against the Titans in a must-win best of 5. Crazy story that would be, but starts here in our first best of 5 of the day.
It certainly does, and I'm a little bit puzzled with the Tartarus Titans draft, just because, don't get me wrong, SOT has hard carried games away before on this Ullr. If this is just, hey guys, I'm feeling confident, give me the Ullr, I'm just gonna absolutely dominate my lane, then that makes sense. But you pick this into Awilix, you have to imagine that Oathhh is gonna sit this lane throughout the entirety of the early. I mean, Ducky can find many different knockups. SOT gets 1 pair of beads, and even if he tries to leap away, Oathhh has that unlock as well. I have to imagine the plan here is to snowball at the early game and not give the Eldritch Hounds a chance to even work any bit of their early aggression with this Awilix. But I'm thinking if Oathhh knows this matchup like I think he does, he's going to be at that first blue buff for sure, trying to find this Ullr.
Man, God, there are just so many stories and exciting matchups to watch really across both sides, Trelly. I think Oathhh has all year long been talked about as the next man up, right? Because there's been a decent bit of jungle turmoil on rosters this year, changes, additions, subtractions of junglers, and every time people say, well, gotta be Oathhh, right? I mean, Oathhh is the guy. Oathhh is it. But what do we always say and always hear is that Oathhh is chosen to stick with the Eldritch Hounds, feeling like this team can get it done. And now is the culmination of a lot of that. And this is where Oathhh and the Hounds, whether it's today or tomorrow, could make a statement and show us exactly why they've stuck together all year long. Glad you highlight the jungle matchup, though, because Oathhh and Cyno, even in the North American SDC earlier on this year, went back and forth in some of their games. And I really like talking to Crim. I actually thought it was a great interview and a very well-spoken player, and talked about how, of course, he's scrimmed against Paul in the past, but never played against him on game day. You know, I almost set him up for failure. I was like, you know, Paul is such a storied history. It's world's Paul. But that did not seem to phase Crim at all.
It didn't phase the mental. And I didn't even consider the fact that Cyno has faced Paul, or in this case, faced Oathhh throughout the entirety of this SEC season and has never beaten him.
Right.
Now that he's on the Titans, of course, he's got this SPL talent behind him. He's got, you know, he could look towards Paul in the middle lane. He could look towards Stuart to say, hey, you're going to hard carry the late game away, but could come into play for sure. I mean, Oathhh has been diffing pretty much every jungle in the SEC throughout the entirety of this split.
Yep.
If you're on Chaac, you're not looking to 1v1 too much anyways. I don't think that you're trying to bully out an Awilix. You're usually trying to set up for your team. You're usually trying to just invade buffs, be tanky, sustain, that sort of thing. So I don't imagine we're going to see too much 1v1 brawling between the junglers. But once level 5 hits, and Oathhh hasn't hit it quite yet, that's when I want to see some pressure put onto SOT on this Ullr. This is a pick that really can run away with the game, even after the Ullr nerfs. Can be so annoying to lane against. You step up, try and Fearless the wave, get stunned out, he jumps away, pokes you out, that sort of thing. But the smallest bit of pressure, and Ullr really can crumble.
And look, Ducky already, I mean, it's, you know, about a half level, but Ducky has felt okay on this tier so far. Walks forward, clears out the wave, and dropped a couple Totem of Coups, maybe as expected, early in this lane to the tier, or to the Ullr rather, but still able to build up some pressure. And that's been a great story for the Eldritch Hounds, and Crim has talked about how Ducky has infused such a level of confidence to this Hounds team. And it's not just intangible, you know, team booth, team comms type confidence. The level of play that Ducky has brought. Now, we've only seen the Hounds play one set, but it looked really good against a Valhalla Valkyries team that beat the Eldritch Hounds 2, 3, 4 times previously here this year. It's now set up this team for success. So both squads here, Hounds and Titans, we've only gotten one look at. Both of them 2-0s in the first set of the weekend for these teams. And it's that level 5 pivot point here, Traily. Oathh's got the blink, but so does Cyno, and we know that Cyno not the type of player who sits back, almost regardless of the pick that he's playing. It'll be interesting to see how both junglers choose to play around the mid lane, I think, here this game. Crim obviously going to be scaling up nicely on this Baba Yaga. Paul, late game, we know what Tiamat can do, but don't get to see this pick all that often in the current meta. Think it's an opportunity for some pressure, or are we staying away from the mids?
No, I'm not fighting near Baba or Tiamat for quite some time. I mean, Paul, in general, likes to sit back and farm up unless he's playing one of those assassins. Talking about typical mage Paul.
Right.
He wants to farm as quickly as possible, share farm whenever possible. And Baba Yaga wants to do the same thing. Crimson is probably just going to be using that pot to blast off to all sorts of farms, split the Scorpion, run over, do his own red buff, maybe even solo green if Quig's not there in time, and he's going to be fine for it. You want that Baba Yaga online.
Yep.
You want those stacks done as soon as possible, where Paul already finished that Book of Thoth. Crim has not yet went back to finish and start getting those stacks online. You want him to fast track the late game. You don't want to try and find too many ganks. The only thing that Oathhh might do is try and pull up Paul's beads if he tries to leap away.
Right.
But I don't imagine there's too much kill potential. You got so much CC immunity already for Tiamat's kid, and she's so difficult to kill, especially when she jumps down in that quadrupedal stance.
And this is a really good pick for Paul. Remember, in Worlds of Past, we've seen Paul on a signature few, and Tiamat has always been a consistent look for the mid lane of whatever team Paul's been playing on. Titans really comes to mind. This a different look at the roster, but same org for Paul. You know, the duo lane also with plenty of wrinkles in it in a best-of-5 set. I'm sure Dudemanbro, such an aggressive and confident player. And Stuart, I think, has grown into his own confidence here with this Titans team. In the Danzaburou pick, look, that requires a baseline level of gusto, I think, to play. And Dudemanbro, of course, has got it, and it feels pretty confident playing alongside Quig on the Maui. It always ends up being the question of, can you get ahead? Are you playing from behind? You definitely don't want this Danzaburou to fall behind. Looks like he's doing okay for now. Because later on in the game, if the Hounds want to be aggressive, Trilly, you got a Danza rocket to start things off. It's another facet of initiation should this team choose to play through their duo.
Yeah, it seems like the Hounds have been liking this pick for Dudemanbro just because even in the jungle later on towards like Fire Giant, Dudemanbro has that ability to say, hey, there's a low health target. I don't have Rama snipes. I can't go up into the sky to finish it off, but I can go into the rocket and chase you down and very easily finish that kill as well. Not to mention the quick rotations. I mean, Dudemanbro can hop into the leaf, go about halfway to Gold Fury, then ult all the way over to mid lane if he needs to, if the fight calls for it. Stuart is a player that is not going to be intimidated by the amount of aggression that the Hounds have drafted, though. He's going to step up, get his farm, play safe. Throughout the entirety of his career, he's always been doing that, even if his team's getting farmed. He's underneath the tower, 0-0-0, at least staying neutral or relatively even in these sort of matchups. So I don't think it's going to matter too much. Rama just has that late game hard carry potential, and Stuart just wants to try and get to that as quickly as possible. Not too much scrapping, though. I mean, the game is still incredibly even. Not too many invades either. It's pretty much just been, you know, do your farm, maybe try to force a relic, but no relics have been used.
No.
So it's been very passive
Wow.
early on, but maybe some sort of aggression towards Oathhh. Not going to be able to find the jump just yet.
Oh, might not ever find the jump. Oathhh just won't get out, and that's first blood to the Titans. And it is awkward at best for the Eldritch Hounds jungler, and a simple one for the Titans jungler, and it's Cyno on the Chaac who will grab it. You can see Oathhh desperately trying to get out of things there, unable to do so. But that's a good clean line of communication from the Titans, something that maybe their fans feel like they've been missing towards the end of Phase 3 and during the Phase 3 playoffs. Team maybe felt a bit out of sorts at times, but a nice four-man grouping and a spearheaded attack like that's a great way to start.
Yeah, just realizing that Oathhh had Blink. If he attacked anything, he was going to be in combat, wouldn't be able to get out, didn't have any beads. And Oathhh was confident, right? He knew, hey, all I have to do is jump over any sort of CC, and I'll be fine. But he went right to that wall and could not find the Tier 2 tower he could leap over. And then just gets a great CC chain, and Cyno gets credit for that first kill. Not going to net too much, just that the value of that first blood. A little bit later on, maybe a Pyromancer could be in question, but with how tanky Ducky is and the fact that Sot doesn't have that Transcendence stacked up just yet, maybe a risky call. Either way, it won't spawn in for 30 seconds, and actually the mid Trebuchet has been launched. Crimson might be able to get some good tower damage here at the very least, as Dudemanbro also going to try to invade the purple buff.
Wow, Dudemanbro's got Interceptor and a level lead over Stuart. Steals away the purple as well. And so an early trend to follow on the left side of the map is the Danzaburou's got pressure. The Danzaburou, I mean, you know, in all likelihood, about a half-level lead maybe over Stuart. But if he's able to farm up the Interceptors on cooldown, get his own purple buff on cooldown, put pressure on Stuart's purple buff, that's where you can see the level and the gold lead really start to expand for Dudemanbro over on left. Both supports have rotated out a bit. Aror takes a little bit of a role in the first blood that the Titans got, but haven't seen Quig or the rest of the Eldritch Hounds do much. Maui, you know, Trelly, upon release, I think there were some questions on how much we would see it. It's been a lot. It's been highly prioritized. I really feel like the initiation from the ult, just a big island pull, is just often so impactful, especially later on, those jungle fights. It's a treat to watch, and Quig has played it well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the amount of CC he brings while also bringing tons of early pressure is not to be undervalued. But once again, Oathhh in trouble. Saw it if he has the axe, and he does. Oathhh is gone.
My goodness, they do it again. The Titans just run back their previous play, and it's Oathhh dropped to 0-2. Quig in mid swinging away as well. Now Ducky supplies decent bit of damage to both Cyno and SOT. 2 targets are going to be building full damage, and I think that's a trend worth talking about at some point here, Trelly, is the Titans will pick up the Pyro. Sot still just zoning out Ducky, trying to delay some wave. But it looks like the Pyromancer is going to get dropped by the Tartarus Titans here. 2 kills plus Pyro, and a nice lead built up, about 1,000 now, after what was a very slow first 10 minutes of this game. And it's just been a run back of the same play a couple of times. Let's catch Oathhh on the back camps, and this Awilix won't be able to get away.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about starting the Blink. I mean, I think beads would have saved Oathhh probably both of those times, but when you know you don't have beads, when you know you can't leap off of Suku or you're going to get chased down by even more CC,
Man,
you're kind of forced to make that play. Danzaburou not afraid of this at all. Maybe needs to be. Goes into the rocket, hits the wall.
Yeah.
It could be chased down here, but it looks like the rest of the team is here as well.
Yeah, he'll be okay for now, but now doesn't have ult. Could get rooted in place. Paul's going to rotate out of mid. Into the stealth, into the leaf. Dude-man bro will get away. SOT is here as well. Now it's Ducky rotating left, so you might get the idea. The Gold Fury's going to be under some pressure here soon. Aror will get his ult back shortly. Dude-man bro a bit further away from the same. And everyone's got their relics ready to go except Cyno. No beads for 10 seconds. Aror uses his ult to counter out the pull from Quig. And it's Cyno in. Big knock up in silence onto Dude-man bro. He'll get the kill, but Crimson trades out onto Cyno. And now suddenly Ducky, the tier, surging forward. And from behind, the Eldritch Hounds have flipped this fight. For now, it's a 2-for-1. Sot pre-beads, but Oathhh with some chase down, and Ducky with the same. Might get another onto Paul. For now, it's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, Sot uses those beads and hits the act perfectly to make sure Oathhh can't chase that one down. And Ducky is trying to pull a little bit, taking a lot of damage, though. There's some good CDR here for Sot. He wants to go back in.
This is awkward. Stuart's got to use the beads. Ducky's going to get chased down. Quig can swing away. Now Ducky has enough mana, but Crim eats the axe from SOT. Nearly had burst damage on the back end, but won't hit it. And so we take a deep breath, and the Eldritch Hounds, they step up to fight. And strictly numbers-wise, Trelly, the Eldritch Hounds ahead of that engage. Remember, it was 2 early kills onto Quig to give the Titans the 2-0 kill lead. And that's a 2-for-1 fight and a game equalizer for the Eldritch Hounds. Big fight for the SEC team.
Yeah, that's a good comeback for Oathhh as well. I mean, falling down twice at his back camps and then able to get a return kill and getting that kill onto Crimson certainly helps you out and make sure that Cyno can't keep, that momentum up. He was 2-0, almost on that killing spree, and that was shut down quickly. But the Gold Fury still stands tall. That was the play. Aror used his ultimate to try to immune out the landfall, did it, then unfortunately got knocked up again and was pulled right back into death. So good plays all around there from the Hounds, and they pulled ahead just for a moment there gold-wise. Still are ahead, but it's negligible. A little bit of farm will go the whole way, but Saw doesn't have beads now. He could be in trouble. He went for the meditation and the beads. No extra safety into this Ullr kit. So a jump, a knock-up, anything would be able to force some aggression from Oathhh, but underneath that tower looks like not wanting to go for the dive. Called off, and now just back to farm. At the very least, Cyno's going to be able to grab that Interceptor and continue to get some vision down towards this Fury. The Tartarus Titans have shown they are down to pull this whenever. Yep. They're going to group and head, I guess, just towards the Fury to look around. Maybe a red buff invade or maybe a pull if they're feeling confident.
Well, Ducky goes back and starts to hover towards left, where SOT is still on the right side of the map. If spotted, neither solo laner has teleport. If spotted, Hounds with tier, though they're going to send Ducky right back to the right side. I was going to say maybe could get a 5v4 type of pull, but it looks like we'll reset. Now, so much of what we talked about with Ullr solo is just a masses lane pressure, right? So obnoxious to lane against. Now, Sot has had a good game so far at 1-0-2, equal with Ducky, who has also looked good on the tier. Have you seen enough return on investment from the Ullr solo? You're expecting high pressure in that lane. Hasn't quite played out like that. However, has impacted all 3 of the kills we've seen so far.
I definitely haven't seen the aggression in lane, but you're up against tier. You're not going to be dominating that lane as is. However, I mean, SOT hasn't been aggressed on at all. I mean, Oathhh has been so far behind, he can't really go over to this Ullr and try and gank. So SOT's been able to free farm. If he gets to that late game with a Titan's Bane and a Heartseeker, all sorts of full burst damage, it's not going to be the tanks. It's not going to be Ducky that cares. It's going to be the squishies. I mean, Oathhh will not be able to go on him if he takes an axe, if he just blinks in. Crim, we already saw, forced into the beads last time just by taking that axe. Big damage coming from him as well. It's going to be the squishier targets of the Eldritch Hounds that are going to wish they put more pressure over to SOT in the early. But with the itemization he's went, with that meditation and the beads, he will also die very quickly. I mean, you get one set of beads. If that's gone, Oathhh can always just pull him right back in if he tries to leap away.
That's a good point. Got the meds for SOT. And I think the overall idea is, yes, it's an Ullr in lane, but that also means it's quad, well, it looks like quad full damage, depending on what Cyno and SOT go towards the end of their build. You're going to have 4 team members on the Titans who are capable of doing a lot of damage very quickly. However, they will all be capable of taking a whole lot of damage very quickly. And Ducky has shown us that sort of the bruiser-style tier build doesn't mind brawling out with some of the squishier targets. Now the Eldritch Hounds. Wow, they're feeling confident here. The Hounds, the SEC, North American, #1 seed. Pull out the Gold Fury, testing the reaction time, I think, of the Titans here, though. Soul Lanterns have made their way left. This would be another 5v5. And in a game where everything balances in the first 17 minutes, one big Gold Fury fight can often really break things open if a team loses it handedly enough. Just losing the Gold Fury, not enough, but if you lose the Fury and a fight, things look real bad. Cyno wants to go, but unhappy with the options on his ultimate, simply takes the stun and backs away. Will now use it for the CC immunity. And out he goes, but Ducky low as well. Cyno nearly taken down by Crimson. It's a blink in from Oathhh, but no knock up and no pull. As the gravity surge waits for the first big jump that Oathhh sees awaiting. Crimson was left behind. Now the Baba Yaga in a terrible spot, but weaves away. Can Stu hit the ults? Yes, he can. Snipes are good. And now suddenly the Titans have a one-man advantage, and they'll double down and double it as Crim and Quig swept from the map.
And that's why you pick the Sylvanus. If you're confident with those pulls, you can absolutely change a fight. So many weak targets there for the Tartarus Titans, but you get one pick onto Crimson, that's the end of the fight. Actually, SOT trying to box into Danzaburou here as well.
Wow, I think SOT had more damage or maybe just hit more buttons than Danzaburou. You know, Danzaburou's just hoping the auto attacks start chunking. SOT, he's got those abilities, the stun, so hard to trade back into. Now this is interesting, Trelly. As a gold lead builds up for the Titans, and it'll continue to do so. Looks like a pretty simple pyro. However, Ducky is here. Ducky has been so important to this Hounds team in and out of game. They need him now to try to get a steal on this Pyromancer. Won't end the game if you lose it, but gives you a bit of extra footing if you're able to take it away. Oathhh over the wall as well, and so a steal attempt will be there. And it's actually a pull onto Aror, but Oathhh won't commit on the damage. Ducky sure will. It's a push back and it's a pull back. A fantastic 1-2 from the Hounds. But you can't lose anyone in trade. As Quig left running, Ducky in alone. SOT and Stu are low, and Ducky's on a warpath. But Paul, he's got something to say on the rest of this fight. Quig will stumble, and a 2-for-1 on the Eldritch Hounds eases the pain of losing the Pyro.
Yeah, Danzaburou almost rocketed in to try and take that fight versus SOT. Flew it into the wall on purpose, decided not to fly into 3. Probably the correct call. Mid tower goes down, takes some buffs in the meantime. The Eldritch Hounds are not worried about that gold lead. They are still able to find some aggression. All starts with a fantastic pull and knockup from Oathhh. That was a good play just from the side. Aror gets pulled back in, doesn't quite die, but then the wraparound from Ducky. You highlight it. Ducky's been on point throughout the entirety of this tournament, and he's trying to make big plays for his team. Shows up massive there. Stuart also dying and losing both relics. That's going to hurt the Tartarus Titans as well. Good news is, Fire Giant's not going to be looked at for some time. Bad news is, again, you got to be safe without your beat to the next 2 minutes if you are Stu. So, positioning, definitely important. That tier 1 tower missing means you're probably stuck underneath tier 2 for at least the next minute and a half.
Now, Trelly, I want to zoom in on Danzaburou's build here. I mean, it's nothing exciting, but maybe some of the reasoning behind it. He's gone crit, and I imagine a Deathbringer will be in here somewhere. Do you feel like this just makes more sense when there's more squishier targets on the opposing team? I mean, you're really only dealing with Aror with overwhelming tankiness right now. Later on in the game, are we maybe going to see Dude Man Bro 2, 3 tapping some of these carries with a crit build?
Oh yeah, there's absolutely no reason not to build crit when you're up against an Ullr solo and Cyno's building how he is, right? The reason that Stu is forced into this build is because number 1, he's Rama and it's just good. And number 2, Ducky is going to be W-keying him with a Witchblade, with a Glad Shield, maybe even more Fizz-D as the game continues. And he has to be able to shred through that if he wants to exist. Dude Man Bro says, hey, there's no blink on Aror. There's going to be no tanky targets in my face.
Right.
I'd rather just do more damage. And you called it. Next item, Deathbringer. Didn't even go for the usual Executioner or Silver Branch. He just wants big damage numbers. He does not care about shredding through tanky targets because there's only one. And if he's hitting Sylvanus, either the fight's already lost or it's the first pick in the fight.
Sure, he might not be in a good position if Aror ends up being or you're in a great position. One or the other. The Eldritch Hounds. They'll now group around Tier 1 tower. Also a Deathbringer. I mean, that's a massive. That's a full buy Deathbringer. I don't think he had the Tier 1 or Tier 2 before he went back and bought it. I think he just full on buys the Deathbringer. And now the Eldritch Hounds. With that, I wonder if this is just confidence around how they've been able to fight back in. Maybe it's confidence around how Ducky's been playing.
Oh, it didn't hit.
And for good reason, because Ducky's been playing well. Now Oathhh, no gravity surge for the rest of this fight. That's a swing and a miss. Maybe the Hounds take that as a sign to just back away. Attempting to force a fight. The aggression potentially catching the Titans off guard, but Titans able to absorb that pressure wonderfully. The veteranship showing its colors here. And now rallying around the Tier 1 tower on the Hound side of the map.
And that's a lot down. I mean, Oathhh had to blink in for that play. Or sorry, Ducky had to blink in. Oathhh and Ducky both used ultimates and no pull onto Aror. Just a little bit out of range. Tier 2 tower's under some stress, but Oathhh is also looking at a Tier 2 tower in mid. 4v5, the Hounds should feel fine trying to defend this as long as they don't overcommit or as long as Aror doesn't get a nice pull. Should be able to just grab the Tier 2 in mid and defend this one pretty nicely.
Take Oathhh a little while. Cyno, 3 into his ult, but it's forced counterplay. What's happened to Cyno's health bar? You've got numbers, Titans. What's happened here? It's Ducky walks forward, the rocket searching for a target, and Crim on a double. Quig now with the third. It's a decimation. It's a bloodbath over in the solo lane. Stuart, with it all to do, will get it done on the one. But Ducky, Crim, Dude Man, bro, my God, what a fight from the Hounds.
If you're looking at Cyno's build and thinking he should be the first one in the fight, you are ludicrous. I can't think of a reason why he'd be tanking up a Tier 2 tower 5v4 in this situation. You saw what happened. He got absolutely deleted, and it's because he's full damage Chaac. In this case, Oathhh wasn't even here. He got Tier 2 tower in mid, and now Fire Giant's being looked at. Unfortunately, Dude Man Bro is not going to be getting this buff unless they hold it for 24 seconds, which I suppose could be the call, but Quig would definitely die if they do hold it. He's going to die anyways. Quig goes down.
He laughs about it. It gives you a glimpse into, I think, the team booth right now for the Eldritch Hounds. They are sensing an opportunity. And they've already done it, I think, maybe surprised the Titans here in Game 1, but they're sensing an opportunity to take a 1-0 lead in this best of 5. Move themselves one step closer to that dream playing in a SMITE World Championship. Of course, the dream's to win it, but think about that in the context of the. I'm zooming way out here at this point, and I'll do it while the Primal Fury gets taken by the Tartarus Titans. You're playing in the SEC all year long, and now you stuck together as a team. You've had a Ducky. You felt resurgent. And you're taking it to the Titans here. Crazy fight with a numbers disadvantage. That requires some confidence and some communication. Hounds clearly feeling both. Lose the Primal Fury, I don't think they're too worried about it. And now get to see how they fare with 3 minutes left in their FG buff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say they played the fight incredibly well, but it was essentially handed to them. The advantage that the Tartarus Titans had, the 5v4, goes away when you send your full damage Chaac underneath the tower. That tower is now a 5th man. It's a 5v5, and you're still dying at that point. So Oathhh grabs extra gold in the Tier 2 and an easy fight, but now the Hounds have themselves a solid gold lead. Nothing crazy, nothing that the Tartarus Titans can't come back from. Remember, Paul's sitting 2-0. He was able to finish Obsidian Shard, upgrade that starter item, the Tiamat. Still does have plenty of damage, and those extra lizards that push down the right side of the map will make the siege a bit annoying, as well as there's still 2 Tier 2 towers to go.
Right.
that the Eldritch Hounds are going to have to break through before they can even think about going for these Phoenixes. They got a solid 2 minutes to do it. And they've got a very linear execution of how to go in, right? It's been, hey, hit a knock-up onto Aror. We're going to pull him away from his team, and that's going to be how the fight starts. In this case, everyone else has beads, so Aror either uses his ultimate to immune the knock-up, or he's getting picked before the fight even starts.
And it's been a lot of that. I feel like it's been a lot of using Wrath of Terra, CC immunity. But then what is he? You're hoping a pull or a root suddenly changes the rest of the fight around. It's been awkward for Aror. But still the Titans, you know. I say only, but it is only a 3,000 gold deficit that they're in here. Fire Giant for the Hounds around 3. Crimson goes crazy in the previous fight. You've already seen what the late game Baba Yaga damage can do, but now we've added a bit more itemization. You can see squishier targets, feels good. Ducky, why wouldn't he? Walks underneath tier 1 Phoenix, there's only one. Maybe that's why you wouldn't, because you take some return damage. Remember, Stuart, Sot, they've got plenty.
That's rough.
Quig will also eat a bit. The Hounds didn't like what they saw and left.
Yeah, Ducky blinked it and missed. He tried to just knock up Aror, and Aror sidestep both Fearlesses, and he's like, well, guys, I'm going to leave on how Oathhh
I'll head back.
will be able to juke out and blink away. He said that same trick will not work on me 3 times. Cyno does not connect with the ult, does not put him in combat, and Oathhh actually lives this time around. That tier 2 does drop, but look at this. The Hounds acted like they were retreating. They just grabbed a red buff. They're heading right back under this left side Phoenix, while the rest of the Titans, they're on the right side of the map. They have to back.
Oh, Paul could be in some trouble here. He'll take some burst. Crimson maybe shows the hand a bit early. Quig would have been the one to really initiate. Still is. Leaps over, doesn't get the stun. Gets beads off of Paul. Crimson likes it though. Sends some fire bolts towards the Tiamat.
Oh!
Is forced into the Aegis. Oh my god! The coordination from the Hounds is perfect. Quig though is pulled back in. He will solar swing away. Snipes from Stu. 1 and 2. 3 is all he needed. Doesn't hit it. Now the Hounds with a clean advantage. Quig's got to leave though, so momentary 4v4.
Yeah,
or does
Quig's
he?
going to stick around, maybe drop his 2 just to HP 5 up, but Fire Giant has already worn off. I'm thinking the Hounds may have overstayed their welcome, and they realize that, and they are going to back off after getting that pick onto Paul and losing both relics. It was so pristinely timed. I mean, they wanted to make sure they could get that pull back, and Oathhh was also there. The pull into the pull, quite the combo to make sure that Tiamat goes down. And now, if Paul does want to step up to Fire Giant, which is going to be quick, it's about 30 seconds away, he's going to have to watch out to when he jumps, because he'll definitely be getting pulled back in by Oathhh. You can switch up your strategy from, hey, let's pull an Aror to let's pull on the Tiamat that does way more damage and is much easier to kill.
Crazy coordination from the Eldritch Hounds. You know, again, it's the context of these SEC teams coming in and looking dominant. Obviously, they practice and they play their games every week, and they put as much time into it as they can, but they're really making do with what they've got, and the fact that Hounds, the Ravens, Hex Mambo, they've been able to step up and look so good here this weekend. Been a treat to watch and a great storyline to follow, but a long set against a team that's known adversity all year long, Tartarus Titans, in a best of 5. We'll have plenty of chances to punch back and still do here in game 1. Look, you know, the Fire Giant was great. You knocked down a bunch of towers, you extended your gold lead, but you've only extended it to just shy of 4,000. Later on in the game, it matters, but spread 4,000 across 5 or so. So you're talking about a couple tier 1, tier 2 items as the difference maker. Impactful, but definitely not game ending. It's more about positioning at this point. The positioning is aggressive. Watch Dude Man Bro shred the FG. Sot will not get in range, and Ducky alone with 4. He will Lawbringer away. Sot forced to use the beads, and it's a clean Fire Giant pull and secure. Cyno wasn't even here. The Titans potentially no intention of even trying to fight.
Yeah, Sot tried to step up for the steal. That was really the only call they had. I love the play from Paul. He stayed in ground stance the entire time, saying, hey, I'm probably going to get blinked in by Ducky, so I need to be ready with my CC immunity because I don't have the beads. I don't want to be pulled back in. But now, because of that hesitance, the Eldritch Hounds were able to grab regular Fire Giant. Wasn't quite enhanced yet.
Yep.
The timer did not tick over, so Cyno's going to rotate over to left, has to deal with the Trebuchet. Once they realize Cyno's gone, you got to imagine a 5v4 with FG seems pretty good here for the Hounds on the right side. Who's your target now? Probably looking like Aror again.
Hell, the Hounds won a 4v5 earlier in the game. Why not take a 5v4? Once again, this tier has made life difficult. Sot, without beads, only has med. Ducky does it again. Stuart goes up, down. The snipes mean nothing. And Ducky is a menace. He is going crazy in game one. The rest of the Hounds simply back away and deal damage to the Phoenix while Ducky gets it done.
I mean, once again, I got to roast Oathhh. Ducky blinks in, gets a beautiful Fearless onto Sot, and he missed the ult again. Oathhh said, oh no, my ult didn't pull in. Don't worry, I'm going to blink in and still one-shot him because his ult didn't do damage. He was able to stay out of combat. That could have been a lot cleaner. Doesn't matter. Stuart needs to run away here. The lazy back could have hurt him. Doesn't matter. At this point, the Eldritch Hounds want this left side Phoenix. They're going to walk up for it. Take a look at those beads. None are up. They've got plenty of opportunities, and Oath's ultimate is already off cooldown.
The deepest breath I've ever seen Quig take was just now. Big inhale, big exhale. The Eldritch Hounds on the verge of a game one victory. Aror shoved aside. Oathh, no mistakes this time, though it's Quig who finishes off the kill. They don't care. The Hounds aren't worried about it, as their support will get his second. And the second Phoenix of the game also falls. Oathh will have to scurry away to avoid the stun. Is this a desperation play, though, from the Tartarus Titans? Oathh is low, but could be bait. It's a respawn out from Stu. He'll come back from the fountain. Now, 2 Phoenixes down. Fantastic ones to have down, Trelly. Opposite sides of the map, still a minute and a half on FG.
Yeah, they can grab the Oni Fury as well. That's going to start to add up. The Obelisks have spawned back in, so another Trebuchet likely going the way of the Hounds if they're able to grab everything in the meantime. They've just got siege tools upon siege tools, and the engage, it's just so easy. You see one pair of beads down, and Ducky says, I'm on it. I'll go fetch you a kill. He'll pull him back in, and that's what's been happening consistently. Again, last time, the ult was a bit off the mark on that right side bird, but it didn't really matter. Awilix has that 100-0 potential when your Ullr has meditation. If your Ullr has Aegis, maybe a little bit different, but that's not the call that was made. Sot wanted cooldown reset. He wanted to be able to spam abilities, and now I think it's hurting him. He doesn't have too much survivability. The Hounds have another 45 seconds to play with here, and it looks like the Titans are grouped up in the jungle. They're going to try to take a fight with all these relics down. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Cyno will be the first in. Where will his ult land? It's on to Oathh. Oathh takes burst from Sot. And Oathh should be cleaned up here. Yes, the snipes from Stuart. It's a good start, but SOT still too far forward. He's got to leap away. Now Ducky on the tier. Done it all game long, and a chance to do it again. Aror melted. Stuart falls as well. Dude, man, bro, with 2. And there's some low health targets around the corner. Can the Danzaburou rocket into the middle? Here he comes right down Main Street. And Paul's going to learn what a crit feels like. Triple kill for DMB. Cyno retreats into the fountain. And now it's about how many kills can the Hounds get, because the Titans going to drop an SCC. Takes game 1.
I just cannot imagine the Tartarus Titans thought that was a good idea. Their relics were in the graveyard. They had nothing. They got the 1 pick onto Oathh, but that's been their game plan this entire set, is kill Oathh and then lose the fight after the fact. I guess desperation was kind of clawing at them. They had to make a play, and that's where they decided to make their stand. But the Hounds didn't waver. They didn't run. They said, hey, here they are. Good, now we don't have to find them. Let's fight right here in mid. And they win that handedly off the back of some massive crits from Dudeman Bro, and also Ducky was unkillable. I mean, no one on the Hounds.
Ducky looks amazing.
No one could even look at him. He was just, he just did what he wanted.
Ducky looks incredible. And again, so much of what we talked about during picks and bans, around the Ullr pick specifically, it's Ullr can dominate lane, Ullr can build up a lead. I mean, it was even in lane, won some Totem of Coups, actually looked good in a couple of the early rotations, but did nothing to slow Ducky down, really. Eventually, the tier got there. Crimson looked fantastic, and there was so much value. You brought up the value of the crit build from the Danzaburou at the end of the game there. He's like 2-shotting Paul once Paul is left in the front. It's now another, iteration of, I think, that this SCC, nothing to lose, but also confidence, mental, that we've gotten. But it starts to build up. There is something to lose for this team now in that Crim, the rest of this squad, they're feeling like Worlds should be theirs.
Oh, yeah.
And they're showing us why here. Game number 1, Eldritch Hounds over the Tartarus Titans in game 1. Best of 5, though. Plenty of games to go. See how game 2 goes right after this.
oscuro. Baby, hace rato que te vi. Recuerdos en tu cama, me sentí bien VIP. Andando todos los días, no sé de quién salió. Andando a un problema y el problema se me dio, mami. No te voy a decir cómo vivir, ya no. I'm just trying to get us to a place right now. Baby, vamos a bailar, acércate de mí, ojalá no te vayas. I'm just trying to get us to a place I know. I'm just trying to hold you like you're all I know. Baby, vamos a cantar, acércate de mí, ma. Dime la vez, baby, no me mientes. Baby, no me mientas, sí, maná. Si me quieres, ahora me debes. Baby, dime la verdad. Y baby, no me mientes. Baby, no me mientas, sí, maná. Si me quieres, ahora no mientes. Baby, dime la verdad. Baby, quiero tu café como barista. Es un retro caribe en la isla. Y estas historias nunca terminan bien. Así que dispara nuestro amor también. Yeah, you're running, gastando mi tiempo. Y baby, lo siento, but I think that you just need to open up. Just pull the trigger for who you love. Baby, no me mientas. No te voy a decir cómo vivir, ya no. I'm just trying to get us to a place I know. Baby, vamos a bailar, acércate de mí, ojalá no te vayas. I'm just trying to get us to a place I know. I'm just trying to hold you like you're all I know. Baby, vamos a cantar, acércate de mí, ma. Dime la verdad y no me mientes. Baby, no me mientas, sí, maná. Si me quieres, ahora no mientes. Baby, dime la verdad.
I can tell you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus. Brokenness feeling like sin, I know breath, low dollar.
Welcome back to the SWC group stage. Game number 1 between the SCC and the SPL goes the way of the Eldritch Hounds and the SCC, able to find themselves a victory and get themselves one step closer to the SWC. And at the SWC, we're going to reveal a lot of really cool stuff. There's going to be the Year 10 keynote, which you get to see all the stuff that's coming up in the next season of SMITE. And one thing that you can do right now to get a jump on that towards celebration of Year 10 is by jumping on the game and just playing some SMITE. If you play 10 games of SMITE right now, you can earn a bunch of free rewards. You get a battle pass, you get a bunch of boosters, you get to pick some free gods, and in the unlimited skin choice, I actually took a look at this. There are 26 different skins inside that chest, and you get to pick any of them in there by going on there and just playing 10 games between now and January 23rd. All you gotta do, 10 games. That's not a whole lot. You can jump on and play one a day for the next couple of weeks and be able to knock that one out. No problem. So make sure you jump on and take advantage of the Year 10 celebration taking place in SMITE to get hyped up and celebrated for the next year of SMITE. A decade of SMITE myth. A decade since launch of SMITE, essentially, is the way that that one pans through. But now for game number 1, Eldritch Hounds, Tartarus Titans. We talk about some of the strengths of the Tartarus Titans composition, but also some of the big worries of it, which was the late game team fighting execution of it. And didn't execute so well. The Eldritch Hounds were able to win out in these 4v5s and even especially these 5v5 matches.
I really, really did like how the Tartarus Titans approached the early game. I was thinking to myself, man, where is Chaac going to put his emphasis? Where is he going to play and consistently try and find that lead? And the answer was wherever Oathhh was standing. And generally it was at those back camps with the help of SOT. But transferring those small wins into tangible leads was difficult for the Tartarus Titans. I think at best was about 3,000 gold up, which is within the realm of acceptable losses considering how much easier it was for the Eldritch Hounds to play around their composition. And when we talk about losing well, the Hounds do it perfectly. Every single time the Titans group up and tried something, Oathhh was split pushing on the map or stealing away some farm, or 4v5 defenses were just going their way. Loved what we had seen from the Eldritch Hounds. And this is a match where neither team was executing perfectly either. It was just much easier to perform the strategy from the Eldritch Hounds. I think in particular, Crimson deserves every bit of praise that we could give him. Only really gets picked out the one time, otherwise was consistently applying his damage to priority targets, finding Paul in the back line or connecting damage with Cyno before he's allowed to initiate, removing that heal and removing that survivability on those Blink ultimates. I think if anything, this one could largely be chalked up to draft diff, and chalked up is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, the Chaac jungle has not been working out so well for the Tartarus Titans ever since Cyno came onto this roster, has been running this pick. It's had some hot, but it's mostly been pretty cold for this team so far. So I think maybe moving into Game 2, see a different strategy there, but maybe get some additional frontline out there. It really felt like Aror was left out to dry so many times in these team fights. The Hounds recognized, hey, this is their only tanky person. What if we just pull their frontliner away from the rest of the squad, execute him essentially, and then the rest of the team fight is pretty easy to go through there. And multiple times we saw Oathh's ultimate connecting onto Aror, pulling him back in the middle of all 5, and as soon as Aror lands, he's essentially dead at that point. And then it's just, well, who's got more damage? The answer to that was the Eldritch Hounds.
Every single time. I think the Tartarus Titans can look a bit elsewhere to find pressure. I don't think it necessarily needs to come from the soul lane like it seemed to be the strategy. You could facilitate Stu over in the duo, pick yourself something that can fight into the Danzaburou, have your jungler rotate there, because for the first 15 minutes of the game, where was Dude Man Bro standing? Tower line. He was there the entirety of the early game. If somebody a little bit more mobile than a Chaac gets locked in, you could rotate through and punish situations like that. But instead, what we saw from the Tartarus Titans was a very narrow margin win condition composition, and they just barely missed it.
Yeah, unable to pull out in game number 1. We can see if maybe the Titans change things up in the drafts for game number 2. We'll see if it changes on the execution on the field. Let's jump in to the P's and B's for game 2 between the Eldritch Hounds and the Tartarus Titans. Remember, this is a best of 5 matchup. Winner of this, they get to go to the SWC, and they're done for the remainder of this tournament. They'll just wait a nice little week before they get to play again at the SMITE World Championship. Loser of this has to face off against the Highland Ravens for one final chance to qualify to the SWC. And it's been pointed out a couple of times, there's a very realistic possibility that there could be 2 SCC teams coming from just this group, but at least very much guaranteed there will be one of those. Will that be the Hounds right here? Will it be the Hounds or the Ravens later on? Will the Titans even make it through? We'll have to get through game number 2 to find that out, as Agni and Tyr banned away by the Titans, taking away one of the pain points in Ducky. At least are the Tartarus Titans. Then the Naja and Hades, no surprise there from the Eldritch Hounds. But with a Cernanos ban here, that does kind of open the door of, do we see this Ishtar get banned by the Hounds? Because that has been the primary first pick to go to for a lot of these teams.
I think considering Stu has played a much less aggressive style than we'd seen from him in the regular phase, if you let Ishtar through here, it is likely that the Titans will take it, but you at least get yourself maybe a Yamoja, maybe a Maui in that situation. You could really draft towards mid lane, get Crimson on one of his favorites, the Vulcan still available as well. So it's the set banned out. If I'm thinking about it right, this could just be immediate snap block of Ishtar, maybe Vulcan Maui here. And that's a scary top 2 for the Hounds if that's what they elect to go for.
Yeah, I mean, to bring up your point that you mentioned Yamoja, we've seen one Yamoja game so far, and
Danza,
isn't even in the top 10 for bans. Yamoja seems to have just completely fallen off in favor of Maui. That does get drafted here. The dual lane for the Eldritch Hounds run back one more time. Don's a Maui for these guys, and now a lot of options over to the Tartarus Titans. Paul has plenty of picks he can go towards. As mentioned, the Vulcan, something that he has played in the past. Haven't seen it a lot recently. It's mostly been this set that's been banned away 2 games in a row now.
Vulcan is a bit scary to play into gods like Danzaburou, having just one more thing that could full screen, full map, run you down and stun you from a distance is a bit scary, and Vulcan slightly on the less mobile side of the mage column. I am surprised, though, that it is Danzaburou locked in so high in the priority list for the Hounds here. I mean, there's potential that the Titans could run another double hunter composition, toss Ishtar towards mid, have a Danzaburou for themselves in duo, but I think likelihood of that is pretty low, and had the Hounds so chosen, could have just got the Danzaburou in the next slot. Instead now, the Titans do have pick of the field. Paul's played the Vulcan to great effect throughout the entirety of this year. Could be concerned about taking it this early in the draft, though. Instead, get Cyno on something comfortable, the Nemesis locked back in. It's one of his go-tos. It certainly is. But as of now, getting it this early in your draft, it's pretty easy to stay away from those huge contention point picks, things like the Hades or things like Cthulhu that Nemesis generally in the past has really dealt with very well. Now the Hounds can look at it and say, oh, let's find some inconsequential CC, some easy taunts thrown out to deal with the Nemesis shield, or any form of wall really could really dampen this entire draft already from the Titans. Fortunately for the Titans, the Hounds have already taken their support, so Ymir, although firmly within Quig's God pool, likely not to get picked here, but could you imagine how scary that would be into a draft like this? If you need structures, if you're thinking about walls, maybe one place you could look is the Cabrakan, put it in the jungle. It would really deal well with the Guan and the Nemesis. Instead, feed the hot hand. Crim has a great game, goes back to the Yaga.
So we will see the mid laner draft his pick. Maybe another structure option we could see is the Thor, something that has been very highly contentious, at least in the ban column.
I assumed it was banned.
No,
I'll be
I
real
know.
with
I
you.
mean, it's sitting right there, number 3 most banned god throughout this tournament, tied alongside the tier. In fact, even the Dachi has made her way all the way through the bans, who has been one of the hottest bans for just about every single team. It's crazy to see some of the developments of the meta in these tournament-style formats where picks that during the regular season were so highly contested, and even if they don't see a whole lot of changes to them up until this tournament, just seems to lost a little bit of favoritism there. A couple shots at Paul, though, at least to start this one out. We had the set earlier, and now the Hell taken away. And then a Khepri ban, taking a shot at Aror, something that we haven't seen very much from Aror in recent memory, but it's definitely a pick that Aror has gone to in times like this. And then opposite side, Amaterasu and Lancelot banned away by the Titans.
I love that Khepri ban. I think it's so smart, considering how the kills would land from the top 3 from the Titans. A double dash in from Nemesis or Guan Yu cavalry charging to your back line generally would leave them high and dry. Khepri being that safety line would make it a bit easier to execute on that. And the Hounds don't want to have to deal with killing somebody twice, so take it off the board immediately. The Thor finally does get eyes on him, and it's the Hounds. Oathhh has been phenomenal on this pick, has had an amazing run throughout the regular phase. But Thor is a god that is maybe more so than just about any other pick in SMITE, contingent on how well you're playing on day of. A Thor that's hitting every hammer, landing his dunks consistently, will dominate a map and make it nearly impossible to feel comfortable at any point to look at an objective or even get aggressive in a lane thanks to that semi-global presence. But if you're missing your hammers, if the walls aren't quite finding their home, Thor really does start to fall off. Oathhh doesn't have a particularly strong early game in the previous match, but I think this time around won't have to concern himself with the level of aggression that he was finding lobbed against him at his own back camps. And a shift up here. The Morrigan for the Titans. No surprise that Paul would go towards this pick, but it's not a standard Morrigan composition. As of now, not even exactly the best transformation targets for Paul. In the early game, who are you even turning into here? I mean, Nemesis for survivability, Hercules, I guess. You get one over from the Hounds. But otherwise, that's going to be a slow roll for Paul out of mid. And it's not as if the Morrigan is in her best position either, as just the base Morrigan. Sure, transformation's always going to find value, but since we'd last seen the Morrigan at the top of the meta, her clear has eaten some nerfs, some of her burst damage has eaten some nerfs as well. The Titans have got themselves yet again a very high execution draft.
So we're going to be seeing probably a lot of base Morrigan play have to come out of Paul for the Tartarus Titans team. Hercules for Ducky once again. We've seen the kind of menace performance he's put on this god before. I mean, between the tier and the Hercules, I don't know which one is scarier to face up against Ducky from what we've seen just this tournament in the regular season whenever he got added on during Phase 3 for this Eldritch Hounds team. So for the Tartarus Titans, you mentioned another very high execution style of draft. Eldritch Hounds, a very easy to play style of composition, maybe outside of the Thor, where Oathhh is really going to have to kind of step up there. What are some of the avenues for the Tartarus Titans early game to try and not only win the early game like they did last time, but secure their lead and keep it going?
You could try and jam pressure into DMB. Again, I think it is unlikely that DMB strays away from his post at the Tier 1 tower, the enemy Tier 1 tower. He loves playing there. So having that mobile Nemesis on your team, or even the potential to transform into a Thor from the Morrigan and have her have some presence on both side lanes, could make it a bit more difficult for the side lanes of the Hounds to leverage all that aggression. Otherwise, Baba Yaga, always a great target in the early, especially if she elects to go towards that stacking build. But I think it is a little bit more so about counterpunch with this draft from the Titans, unless Aror's starting off the fights consistently with this Atlas. Otherwise, wait for that dunk from Thor, try and stop him from getting active on the map, and hope that you've got the dive in the late game to deal with some of these less mobile carries in the Hounds. If you could block the rocket ride from DMB, you probably got DMB.
So for this kind of draft for the Tartarus Titans, is this one that you would like to see them get involved early, or one that you would like to see them, as you say, maybe more so kind of counter what the Eldritch Hounds have been doing?
I think early on, you're really counterpunch. Mid-game, you're going to see some pretty significant power spikes. Nemesis in particular, at like 3 items, shifts from, hey, I'm an auto attack god to, hey, I've got burst damage now with the auto attack cancels. So around that point, the Titans can get a bit more active on map. Until then, it's probably played a bit slow.
We'll see if the Titans can tie the set up, or the SCC going to go up 2-0 in the best of 5. To do that, we'll jump in to game number 2.
My goodness, what a difference we'll be looking at here after game number 2. If the Eldritch Hounds carry this momentum on, just needing to win 1 out of the final 3 to go to Worlds. Titans, though, could force at least a game 4 with a win here in game number 2. And really, Trelly, the Titans, the team, I feel like that is changed up their composition the most, right? I mean, the Hounds, they still got a space control solo laner. Oathhh, of course, a bit different on the Thor, but then the same bottom 3 that worked out in game 1, but it's the Titans that's felt like they've had to make some big adjustments.
Yeah, I can't lie. I really like what the Titans have done with this draft. I think the desk is right. The Morrigan is not in her best iteration of how good she's been in past years, but think about past Worlds runs that Paul himself has made and all the hard carry potential he has had on this pick.
Yep.
I mean, he's got double Nemesis late game, which is incredibly potent. It can essentially just run down Crimson whenever they want, because if you're going up into the house, you can't Aegis. There's no more peel at that point. You're getting shredded through by that amount of auto attack shred. And also, you still have that Thor if you want to transform into. I think Paul on this pick can just be extremely scary. Not only that, you got Cyno on the Nemesis. You got Stuart on Ishtar, who is just the best ADC in the league at the moment. And then Sot back on a tank, who can try and deal with some of what Ducky was doing. Not to say that the Eldritch Hounds shouldn't be happy with what they got. It just seems like the Titans, they said, hey, we're done playing around. This is exactly the kind of draft that I expected from Paul after taking a rough loss in game number 1.
Now Sot also back to something a bit more standard in the solo lane. You know, by late game, the effects, Crim gonna take some damage, but Sot is gonna take a tier 1 tower shot. Does Oathhh have the cooldowns? Just needs to hit the double tap of the auto, and he does. Oh no, a disastrous start for the Titans. And Cyno, that 1 tower shot makes all the difference in the world.
I mean, that is not an easy double tap to hit. You have to predict the full-on run to the left. And Oathhh immediately caught that. You have to get the double tap to confirm that kill as well. Great start for the Eldritch Hounds. Paul not going to beat, takes a bit of damage in the process, but Cyno has already made it back. And that's a great start again, because you as a Thor, you want to hit level 5 as soon as possible and look towards the targets that don't have beads. Cyno is not going to be able to have ultimate if the farm keeps up, both keeps this pace. He can just look to dunk on a Cyno. That's an easy 100-0, especially if you go back and finish up the Jotun's Wrath, or in this case, probably the Brawlers, considering there's a Guan Yu on the other side, and Auror's got the meditation. 1 Brawlers is enough, though. Easy 100-0 composition if Oathhh can land that Anvil of Dawn.
I'm not saying this is what's going to happen for the rest of the game, or what did just happen there, but we have seen some of the SPL teams, Trelly, go down to the SEC squads and then overextend a bit in an attempt to turn the game, to turn the set around, and usually at risk of falling further behind. Cyno trying to make something happen here by the blue buff. This one much more simple. Ducky should die here, and Ducky will. SOT will heal, dash forward, and a needed turn back from the Tartarus Titans. Looks like Ducky maybe got the blue buff at least before dying. But the Titans turn it around, get the Guan Yu on the board.
Yeah, unfortunately that heal does not proc for quite some time. There was a lot of tick damage going through. Ducky would have gotten a nice bit of sustain there, but did not live through it. And at the very least was able to teleport back in, so didn't miss a wave, and as you said, was able to pick up the blue buff and get experience for it, so just down the amount of the kill that SOT was able to get. And that hurts in lane, especially when, you know, Guan Yu up against a Herc, you're probably maxing the dash, or you're just avoiding driving strike entirely whenever you want to look for a kill. But just imagine Cyno comes over, shreds the prots, and then use that cavalry charge to chase down Hercules. I got a feeling Cyno's going to spend a lot more time over on the right side of the map now that Sot is going to be ahead.
Now I wonder. Okay, so but what about the flip side of the map here? You know, it's maybe hard to deal with what Quig and Danzaburou have over on left, but I'm thinking about a Danzaburou in game 1 against a Ram that really, I mean, it was actually slightly ahead, but even if it was even, would eventually have hit all that crit. It's against an Ishtar, and so maybe are the Titans saying that Stu should be able to hold his own a bit better without jungle pressure here in game 2?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the call, but I don't think Danzaburou can play the same style up against a Guan and a Nemesis. You can definitely build crit, but I'm thinking a kin size and an Executioner probably going to be a bit more prioritized in this matchup unless Danzaburou just wants to look for those 1v1s. If that's his only call, he says I'm only hitting squishies, then you're leaving a lot for EruptCrimson to try and deal with the rest of the tanky targets, in this case, who's killing the Guan Yu. So I would have to imagine that's the call here, despite the way that Danzaburou likes to play. He loves to get aggressive, as we've said. He loves to stay at tower line. I'm thinking shredding through these tankier targets might take a bit higher priority now that there's not a full damage Ullr in the solo lane.
Right, well, Danzaburou will hope that his laning phase goes the same. Stu and Aror are happy that they've been able to take a deep breath here in game number 2. Roar will pivot to the Atlas. You know, it was such a difficult game 1 for Aror, it felt like, on the Sylvanus. You know, wanted to pull, get knockups, initiate for his team. Often felt like he had to use Wrath of Terra for the CC immunity to avoid being pulled in. Maybe you hope, Trelly, that on the Atlas, Aror is able to take a more active approach here in impacting the game for the Titans.
Yeah, certainly does have some good opportunities to try and pull beads. Not the best matchup in the Crimson. He can sort of just go in the pod and walk away, but everyone else is going to have to respect that grab a little bit more at the very least. Oathhh is spending a lot more time on the left side of the map, probably because, again, Ducky is going for a Runeforged Hammer start. He's going to be playing a lot safer in lane, seeing as he's behind. SOT already has full breastplate. I'm thinking your kill potential is all but gone over on that side. However, I mean, Ishtar could be ganked for sure. Even though the beads and the ultimate are up, there's plenty of damage coming through from the rocket, from Danzaburou, and that Anvil of Dawn. Probably smart for Oathhh to at least hover around that Gold Fury whenever possible, just in case Stuart steps up too far, wastes the jolt, or uses that ultimate a little bit too early.
Right. Well, now at level 5, you know, normally we talk about Oathhh on the Thor, who did get first blood, did a decent spot, but Anvil of Dawn at level 5 can now really start to impact the map if Oathhh feels like he's got the opportunity. But also now Paul, you know, the transformations available. You know, there certainly will be some options later on in the game. Double Nemesis is something you've talked about, but can match some of the pressure that a Thor will bring out if Paul feels like he wants to start to make some rotations. Cyno and Sot maybe collapsing onto Oathhh here. Slow connects, but so does the wall from the Thor. Looks like that'll be enough just to shove away the Tartarus Titans. It had been blue buff pressure from SOT and Cyno early in this game, but depending on where this Nemesis goes, kind of hovering, sees Crimson coming over from mid, and won't be a repeat performance around the blue buff. So decent call, a decent answer from the Eldritch Hounds, sensing that still maybe solo lane is where Cyno wants to steal away some farm and end up blocking that trade.
Yeah, certainly could be. Especially with Paul, I mean, you always have to be looking out. We were talking about how Thor, you always got to be looking to the skies. You never know where Oathhh could be. You never know when you're getting ulted from. That is now applying to Paul on the Morrigan. He's got Doom Orb finished. He clears a wave, goes invis. Is he going left? Is he going right? Is he already ulting me? All of those things probably going through the minds of the Eldritch Hounds pretty much every time that wave drops. With all these relics up, should be fine. But you just got to be watching out for it. You could see, Oathhh was thinking about going to the sky after a great pull-in from Sot, but goes back to base. Does not have any anti-heal yet. Went Crusher in that first slot. So you probably want to try and prioritize that Brawlers, but Ducky may have driving striked a little bit too hard. Now he's getting dove.
Oh, but the Excavate nearly kills off SOT. Cyno doesn't have the damage to get it done either. And the dive, no good, but the Titans live. And the tower shots have not been kind to the Titans early here in game 2. Ducky to heal, the Excavate turns it around. Solo lane pressure again from the Tartarus Titans. This time,
Oathhh's going up.
more just makes life uncomfortable. Double tap, one more auto from Oathhh, and he's got the angle. It actually might have enough damage. No, Cyno's got the shielding. That makes a big difference
Ooh, he
here.
missed.
But Oathhh dodging around the minions and hammers away in a 2v1 for the jungler of the Eldritch Hounds.
That's a great play. I mean, Ducky pinged throughout the entirety of that invade over on the left side of the map. I could tell he's like, he's here. Okay, now he's here. Oathhh, if you want to ult, he's all the way over here. And then Oathh's like, you know what? I'll go for it. It's just about everything. And that chain lightning from the Anvil of Dawn, that extra enhanced damage was enough to put down SOT. The big lead on the side of the Tartarus Titans that is now gone. Of course, Paul is still highest farm in the game, but Ducky was able to grab a level lead over that kill and put Oathhh, his second of the game, which is great for the Eldritch Hounds. I'm thinking Paul just wants to get itemization online. I'm still looking to see. He's kind of walked over to right for a bit and then went back over, said, oh, there's farm to be had. I'm not going to rotate over. You know, maybe he's put his finger on the ult key and then decided, you know, not going to waste it. And it's one of the issues with the Morrigan is when you have that ultimate up and beads, you're feeling on top of the world. Without the ult, you can be focused out pretty easily. You want to make sure that you're only using that ult when you have a confirmed kill or if it's going to get you out of trouble. So Paul's just prioritizing farm for the moment. He's doing a good job of it, top of the charts. Up until EruptCrimson just passed him gold-wise, but they're relatively even.
Crim doing a good job slowing things down, and this Hounds team really around the mid lane. Okay, with letting some of those items stack up. Crimson is going to hurt here soon. Fully stacked Book of Thoth, Warlock Staff after that. And of course, with the passive, it'll all stack up just a little bit quicker. Tree Pockets, what looks like, uses it. Say a red potion, could be looking for some burst here in a moment, but Oathhh hovering towards mid gave me that idea, but seems like Paul will be okay for the moment. I think an important turnaround game from Oathhh, because look, game one did not start off well on the Awilix. A couple missed pulls there as well. I do think that speaks to the win condition diversity of this Hounds team. So much talk around Oathhh. And even in a game where Oathhh is having an off game, even being focused a bit by the Tartarus Titans, Hounds find a way to get it done. But still remains as a very viable option. Game, once again, will stabilize Trelly, and I think that's maybe what we should expect between these two teams. It was the same story in game one. It was really the first Gold Fury fight of the game that ended up changing things around, regardless of the first couple of kills that swung one way or another. So when you see these solo laners rotate out, 10, 15 minutes, we have to evaluate how the team's going to look at that point, although an early Pyromancer could also be an option here, but both teams seemingly content with a slower pace. Okay to make it to the mid game even.
It's just so risky. I mean, that Pyromancer would be big for which other team gets it, but Ducky has tremendous steal potential. You always have to watch out for Oathhh in the sky. And then the same can be said for Paul. You never know who he's transforming into, what you're going to have to deal with, but it looks like the Tartarus Titans have decided they don't care about that. Crimson has the wraparound, and Oathhh is up in the sky.
Anvil of Dawn does not steal away the Pyromancer. In fact, sort of positions Oathhh, but Oathhh does get the Pyro. Will lose his life for it. Sot gallops forward. Stun doesn't matter while Crimson is in the house. And Crim's got a bit more burst, but still early in the game. Not much. It's another Anvil of Dawn as Paul has dropped the hammer. And this is a good look for the Tartarus Titans. One more, two more. Might feel great. Sot on the rotation out of solo. Paul with a double kill. These are the Titans we've been looking for.
And this is what I was talking about. This is why going for the Pyro can be so rough. Of course, this was all pulled in by the Tartarus Titans. They wanted that fight. The fact that Oathhh ulted in and then decided to commit so hard was a bit strange to me. I understand you want to steal that Pyro, and they got it, but now you lose 4, and you're going to lose the Gold Fury in process, barring a miracle from Dude Bambaro, but he just wants his purple buff. No way. He's stepping up. Massive Anvil of Dawn in from Paul, by the way. That was a huge transformation, and Cyno putting so much pressure onto Crimson, forcing out that escape. The Tartarus Titans are able to put themselves up close to 3K. They are continuously farming this game up. Paul gets level 14 at 12 minutes.
You know what's crazy to think about, Trelly?
What?
What's today? Saturday?
Yeah.
Time just blends together constantly. You could probably make a supercut of all the times I've talked about time blending together because I just lose track of it so often. We are 6 days away from a big Anvil of Dawn on the world stage and all the cheers and noise and bass that comes along with it, with Worlds just right around the corner. In a game where there are two of them, a Thor plus Morrigan game with two Thors is about as peak as it could get. One of these two teams at least will be there. Some might bet that both will make it one way or another. Only one will advance from this specific best of 5, though, to the world stage. It's the Eldritch Hounds in game 1 who punch first, maybe take the Titans a bit off guard.
What is the plan here?
Now Ducky being dove. Oh, they're going to dive him. Sure, surely it's going to work out. They've got damage.
Oh, everyone's
now
coming.
Now that Aror is here, it's a bit easier, but Sot takes a lot of tower damage. The pull-in only catches Quig, and that'll allow SOT to get out. Also had cavalry charge. Ducky's been the focus this game, Trelly. You know, took the game over on tier in game 1. It's been the obvious choice from the Titans to lock down this Hercules and not let him even get to mid-game at any point of comfort.
Definitely a smart call, because all the while, Cyno blinking into a stun. Should be the end of this fight. I can't imagine Oathhh goes in aggressively. Maybe just to land on Cyno and hammer out, but even that would be a risky call. Just drops towards speed buff.
He got speed buff.
Yeah, that is important.
That wins all in the jungle equation.
Of course.
It's speed buff over everything.
If you're invading speed buff, it's even better.
The enemy team sieging my Titan.
It's happening again,
I'm taking
Dave.
speed buff. Ducky 0-3. Might fall to 0-4 here. Again, SOT tanking up the tower a decent bit. I don't think Ducky's going to survive it again. It has been a spearheaded, clean cut effort. You can see the slight smirk on Ducky's face, realizing how his game is gone. However, the Hounds, with an answer back for Paul in the mid lane. Stuart rotates out. He is 1v3 here. Aegis beads, both used. Those are enough. So the AD carry of the Tartarus Titans playing with fire, but he'll live. And an unfortunate triple gank from the Titans onto Ducky drops this Herc to 0-4.
I can't believe Paul had both relics and ult and found a way to die there. I mean, there's a bunch of transformations you could go to. I bet he was stuck on Cyno and had no other option but to transform. And at that point, you're into a Nemesis. You got to imagine Guan or Thor gets you out of there. Probably scot-free, especially if you're using beads and Aegis, but a great dive from the Eldritch Hounds, trying to stop one of the premier farmers on the side of the Tartarus Titans. I mean, definitely the scariest damage-wise. But unfortunately for Ducky, there's no way he's going to survive a triple gank twice in a row. Used the beads, didn't have Excavate. It's just too much prot tread. I mean, Cyno went Exy into the Serrated, has his ult. SOT is also chopping away, shredding those protections, stealing them for himself.
Yep.
It's just very difficult to try and live that unless your team helps out, which they didn't. They were doing other things, but SOT going to ult out to get Crimson's dash. Not very worth, but if he keeps healing his teammates, that'll be back soon. And Pyromancer is the call. Probably trying to get a relic down, force an ultimate, anything from EruptCrimson, but he didn't have any of those things available. The ultimate, yes, but both relics from this Baba Yaga are done. Pyromancer is still available, though, coming in soon, and you got to imagine both teams are looking towards it.
This is when Sot really feels at his best, when on a character can still flex the mechanics a bit, but doesn't have to play slightly worried about the amount of damage that he's going to take. Now, we've seen some great Sot solo Ullr games. I don't want to take that away from him, but what he's able to do on picks like this is exactly why he's been SPL Pro. He's made it look really good. So cavalry charge forward. Crimson into the house. We'll send a firebolt or two around the side. It's because Oathhh on a double dunk. Maybe caught Sot off guard. Beads and Aegis both off the Thor. Needed it. Paul sent a stun his way. Might have been a death sentence. Ducky forward 0-4, wanting to turn one of those zeros to ones. Won't be able to do so with the Pyromancer. Second of the game could be for the Eldritch Hounds. Remember, the first stolen away, the second confirmed. Small victories for the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, Ducky is not going to let that same trick work a third time, and at least in this case, Aror wasn't also there, applying the CC and the prod shred with his Gamma Ray Burst. But it was a far dive, and EruptCrimson does go into the home sweet home to make sure that Cyno wasn't able to get in. If Cyno's there, I don't think it matters how many of your team is actually helping you survive. Ducky already driving strike, he didn't have much else to walk away, and then Nemesis autos are chunking. Pyromancer goes down with the Tartarus Titans already setting up to go for the Primal Fury. Quig does not have ultimate, it's just going to be the hook, and he can't even get it in.
Primal Fury goes to the Titans. Quig might go to the Titans as well. Swings up and over, and he's going to get pulled back by Aror. That's one dead Maui. Stuart, his first kill of the game. Paul transforms into the Thor. There's an Anvil of Dawn up. It'll land on Krim, who uses the beads. And the Cauldron away will be enough. Ducky, I was going to say, or Doom Man Bro's trying to go here. Rockets in. ends up working his way away from the fight. Again, clean effort here from the Titans. Regrouping, playing as a team, realizing they've got the gold advantage and the momentum advantage here in game 2. And a tier 1 tower to boot. It looks like just a bit more pressure on the right side before backing off and spending the gold.
Yeah, smart call. They have plenty to spend after that fight and getting the Fury.
Yeah, Cyno's got 2,300.
Yeah, should be able to get some. I mean, Cyno hasn't backed in a minute. He's been sitting on that Serrated and the Exy for a while. Taking this fight could be risky, but here comes Stu, and that's why Cyno feels confident.
Can Dude Man Bro make a play? No, way too much pressure. Is that a taunt dropped by Cyno even? Look, anything you can do to weaken the mental of Dude Man Bro is gonna go a long way. That guy plays fearless. And another one for Cyno, who needed one, I think, after game 1. The Chaac jungle was certainly a big swing, but maybe an equally big miss for the Titans in the first game. So 4, 1, and 5, all 9 affected kills for the jungler of the Titans, and then 8 affected kills for SOT, and then 7 for Aror. You get the idea here. A lot of it's been over there towards the soul lane, and it's seemingly paid off. 1.5 to 2 level lead in the jungle for Cyno. And this Nemesis, what did the devs talk about? Kind of a mid-game power spike. Well, we're there. We're even getting to early, late game. Cyno's very, very strong for this point.
Yeah, no one's really tanky when Cyno's around with this build, especially if Roar is able to help out with that Gamma Ray burst. And that's what's been consistently happening to Ducky and pretty much the entirety of the Eldritch Hounds. Because you said it, Cyno's a part of every single kill. So you got to watch out for that play. It looks like a grouping around Fire Giant. No one's starting up just yet, though. Aror has dropped the bracer, wants to try and go for something, but looking to poke more often than not to see what they can pick up. Finally, Aror starts it up, and the Fire Giant will look to be burned, but you gotta look out for Oathhh. This has got to be a bait for Anvil of Dawn.
Fire Giant's at half. Oathhh holds on, though. Anvil of Dawn not used. Could this be the game-ending fight? Could we be guaranteed a game 4? Titans in a power position. Ducky's the first one in. Not sure that's where he wants to be. Double pull, though, from Ducky. Double push as well. Excavate. He's done it all, but there's no damage on the follow-up. Dude Man Bro is low, and the rocket sends him off to the side. He lives for just a bit of time. Up, down from Paul as the Thor transformation's been paying off. Sot with 2. Here come the Titans right down Main Street, and 3 of the Hounds are gone. Should be an FG as Paul plays zone.
Yeah, Paul's just zone duty at this point. Quig and Oathhh have to back up and just get their farm. A beautiful fight. And this is what I'm talking about. That Thor ult from Paul in this case was absolutely massive. The Eldritch Hounds grouping up, trying to defend together. Just not going to work out. And Oathhh might get caught out once again. He doesn't realize how close the Tartarus Titans are. Looks like he was able to hide for the time being. They realize, hey, we don't even have to chase. Let's just go in for this tier 2 tower. We got plenty of time. Ducky's not back for 10. Dude Man Bro for 9. Might as well go for the mid-Phoenix as well.
Mid-Phoenix feels great for the Titans. Quig gets no one with the island. And the Phoenix an afterthought. All 5 of the Titans still with FG buff. There's no pushback on the defense from the Eldritch Hounds. Respawn's just now rolling through. Feels like a verge. On the verge of a Tartarus Titans game 2 win here. Things have really broken open. I think your only opportunity if you're the Hounds here, Trelly, is if your defense is somehow miraculous. Now, we've seen Ducky on Hercules on defense, and it's looked good. I don't know if it's looked 9,000 gold difference good, though.
And the issue is Ducky just can't live, right? I mean, he's 0-5 at the moment. Not because of any fault of his own. It really has just been the Tartarus Titans have said, hey.
They've chosen him.
Yeah, we are picking one member of the Hounds, and in this case, it's going to be Ducky. We're going to shred through him. Driving strike down, okay. Horse into the ult, very easy. Very free kill. And if Ducky's trying to be the frontliner with Runeforge, Glad Shield, and Wingblade, it's not going to help much. You got to have the beads for the stun off the cavalry charge and the Wingblade to proc off those ultimates. Eventually, you're going to be getting locked in place, and that's when those Nemesis autos reign true, especially if Paul is able to connect as well with one of his transformations. So it's definitely not easy trying to stay at the front line of these Phoenixes as Ducky. These pulls could still be clutch. It's just you got to have that follow-up damage. Dude Man Bro already sold the starter item, wanted to grab that kin size as early as possible, now started working on what you would assume would be the Silver Branch. And EruptCrimson got the Soul Reaver as well. There are some big power spikes here.
Yeah.
It's just the Tartarus Titans have so much extra gold. No one is tanky to them. And it doesn't seem like Paul has been really dealt with since he started getting his transformations online. There was that one kill underneath mid tower. Since then, has been free casting in these engagements.
Yeah, you're relying on a mess up here from the Tartarus Titans. If you're the Eldritch Hounds, they have not messed up and putting all their pressure towards Ducky. Backline is found by Cyno. The Nemesis will chunk some damage. Paul, where'd he come from? That's a Thor transformation. That was just Morrigan. He stealthed in and found the delete key. Anvil of Dawn backwards from Paul. Paul's feeling himself. I think he is. If he's feeling himself more, I think we're taking that Anvil of Dawn a bit further forward, but safety is the name of the game. Now, right side Phoenix, defended by the Hounds, down a jungler.
And they're gonna walk into this right side bird. Crimson has to deal with fire minions, so this is a split fight already with Oathhh being gone.
Man, Cyno, he's just been walking into the backline. I mean, it's simple. It's about as easy as it gets for the Nemesis, but maybe should have thought twice. Excavate does not hit Cyno. Right side Phoenix will fall. Would have been nice to get the Nemesis off the map, but this is clean. This is clinical from the Titans, not requiring massive team fights. Just an individual pick here or there opens the door.
Yeah, now the Hounds have to try and scout for whatever farm they get before the Tartarus Titans start their next siege. Fire Giant falls off in 30 seconds, but with the lead that the Tartarus Titans have, I mean, they don't really have to wait for fire. They could just push in slowly. It's been Cyno with the wraparound, Paul stealthing in, SOT with some good engage, Aror applying that prot shred, and Stuart just staying alive and shredding. Everyone's doing their jobs. Unfortunately for the Hounds, they just can't find an opening, right? Your tanks aren't tanky, your carries don't do damage. The setup is just not there. And they just have to sit back and wait. Not to say that with Phoenix on their side, with their well being so close, they could back up, get some extra regen, find a pick. It's just, you gotta hope the Tartarus Titans mess up at this point. It's not even what you could do well, it's what they do poorly, and so far it's been nothing.
Right, you're hoping, yeah, again, you know, game one was fantastic from the Hounds, but compositionally felt off from the Tartarus Titans. This is a clean performance from a team that I think everyone had slated, guaranteed advancing from this group. 1-2-0 against the Ravens were a bit shaky in game two, but now has surged back, showed us why they're this group's favorites in the second game of the set. Fire Giant will spawn up in 30. Good news for the Hounds. Mid lane Phoenix is back. Right side Phoenix is the one you're defending, so you're on the right side of the map anyway, and you've got a Trebuchet, though that'll get dealt with pretty quickly by the Titans. So if you're gonna defend or try to steal the Fire Giant, you're going to be able to do it without much wave pressure pushing against your base. So what we saw the Titans do, remember, in game one, kind of a sneaky roundabout, try to catch the Hounds off guard. That didn't work. Hounds will not elect for that type of play, but it does look like Trelly. They're gonna set up the defense over here by the FG.
Yeah, they've got the freedom to do so. I mean, that right side bird's not gonna be a problem. Fire minions have been dealt with. They've got the Trebuchet pushing out, so unless the Tartarus Titans just stall out that right wave, they really can just sit back and try and fight this. And it's not like you can just pull Fire Giant. Once again, you're baiting out Anvil of Dawn, or else you're looking for a fight. It's too dangerous. You can see Cyno wants the wraparound. Paul keeps stealthing, but Oathhh's onto this. He's going to make sure there's no one wrapping around his backline, and Fire Giant has been started up.
FG is at half. The Hounds either need to steal it or win a fight. Oathhh will hammer away. Cyno's dropped ult. So a small win, actually, for the Eldritch Hounds. Oathhh will take about half of his HP and damage. Go back to base, though, it looks like. No, the Thor will cancel his back. Cyno ushering minions down mid. So without Divine Judgment for a little bit of time here, is that enough? I mean, Cyno's been a menace in the back of these fights with that ultimate. But the gold lead's still so massive, one ultimate's not going to make the difference. Definitely not with Ishtar on the shred with a little bit of crit. Tartarus Titans get Fire Giant on 5 with no big pushback from the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, that Trebuchet on left was starting to be a problem, and it looks like the call from the Hounds was just, hey, let's retreat. No reason to give up our lives for this one. It's not enhanced Fire Giant, maybe. We form a defense under our last two Phoenixes, but no way. We're going to throw the game on this siege. Probably a smart call. Your fight is much better underneath your own Phoenixes. Tartarus Titans have everything available except for Cyno's Blink. That ultimate is almost back off cooldown, but it looks like it's not going to be for this first Phoenix siege. It's going to have to be a pull-in from Ducky or Quig. That's got to be the start of the fight. If not, the Tartarus Titans walk up, and they just shred through everything slowly but surely. Right side bird's gone. and Cyno can rejoin the fight in mid.
That's right. Cyno might just walk around the back of all of the Eldritch Hounds here. Oathhh, though a full item down, still strong enough to poke down some damage. Paul is actually going to split push this fight. Ducky was looking for a pull. Start something off. Nice little burst of heal at the end of that engagement. Allows the Hercules to walk forward. Now left side minions have arrived. Paul is there. That's a little bit of damage for Dude Man Bro if Paul, or Dude Man Bro rather, steps too far forward. Now Cyno with the rest of his team. Good damage into this Nemesis. This is not simple for the Titans by any means. You need Sa to open the door, and you need Paul to kick the Hounds through it. It's Crim, stunned by Paul on the Thor transformation. Oathhh will melt as well. He'll take a killing spree to the grave, but it's Sa doing one better, a rampage. As the Tartarus Titans will walk in, they will win game 2, they'll tie up the set, and we're at least going 4.
Definitely looking for that. Good pull in by Ducky to stall this one, but so much damage coming from the Tartarus Titans. You gotta think that having Paul on the Morgan is just too much to deal with. I didn't think it was going to be that much of an issue. The Morgan has taken some significant nerfs, but if you know how to make use of those transformations,
he does,
and you know how to make use of that stealth, it's just so difficult to try and fight into the Hounds. Had no answers for the Morgan. Cyno also runs away with this game in the early. Figures out Ducky's on a pretty immobile Hercules. Whenever he uses that driving strike, decides to camp him, and it works out. That Nemesis got way too far ahead.
Yeah, you think Ducky was the target that game? You think the Hercules was the idea? Ends up like 0-5, maybe 0-6 in that game. Did not get a chance to lane, really, which, you know, then you get to later game, the defense is just going to be weaker because Ducky is unable to step forward. Oathhh got a couple kills rolling early, but didn't end up impacting the map all that much. Honestly, it was a bit of a slow burn game, but one that felt very convincing and very in control by the Tartarus Titans, the type of game you'd expect a veteran SPL team to have. Now it's a tiebreaker, game 3. Game 3 is always the best when they're tied up at 1. Winner just needs one more game to go to Worlds. Pressure, never been higher. Game 3 coming up next.
With SWC qualification on the line, the Tartarus Titans step up in game number 2 to tie the set and now bring us much closer to a more best-of-3 style of format remaining for these two teams out there in this best-of-5 with a 1-1 to start things out. The Tartarus Titans needed a bump up here, and kind of Mifflin, this early game counterpunch style of play that you were talking about that the Tartarus Titans needed to go with, they did it pretty well. Paul had some good transformations into the Thor early game, were able to get those counter rotations back in, get themselves a nice lead early on, and then the most important thing, they never let go of that lead. They never let off the gas pedal.
Yeah, maybe counterpunch for the first skirmish of the game, but after that, they reprised the winning portion of game 1, which was the first 3 or so kills, where they're just jamming pressure and running it down. It was against Oathhh in game 1, and game 2, unfortunately for Ducky, he was the recipient of all of that aggression. Looked to me like the Tartarus Titans just made a clear decision. Get a lead, run it down, get aggressive, fight everywhere. And they did it, and they did it well. Paul in particular, a phenomenal performance, was getting active not only in the base stance, but those transformation into Thor were just stifling. Oathhh has a very strong early game, but was not quite able to maintain his pace going into the mid to late game. Maybe a byproduct of being 5,000 to 6,000 gold down, but also just getting outperformed by someone playing your character on the other side can't feel good. The Tartarus Titans take their high execution draft and they play well around it. The Eldritch Hounds, I think, can look at some of these contention points, make sure they get a bit more vision on map so that Ducky isn't getting ganked nearly as consistently as he was. Felt like to me that a lot of those solo lane dives could have been punished had Oathhh been a bit more aware on map. But fortunately for the Titans, it doesn't seem to be the case, and it was a clean win from there. Objectives going their way all the way across the map. There was one major gameplay point, though, that I think could have shifted up the entirety of this match. And I'm thinking back to the Pyromancer steal from Oathhh. Had the rest of the Hounds made the decision to just disengage, a lot of that gold lead that the Titans accumulated were from the subsequent 3 or 4 kills they had gotten after Oathhh had fallen for Pyro. So if the Hounds can clean up some of their macro play, should be able to make game 3 a bit easier.
Yeah, difficult game for Paul on the Morrigan to find those optimal transformations, but ended up making it work out for him and his team. Putting some pressure in the dual lane as well. That was something that you mentioned from game 1, maybe seeing a swap up in game 2, finally making Dude Man Bro a little bit uncomfortable in that lane. I mean, only 8,000 damage throughout this game. Over double for Stuart on the opposite side there. There's one way you want to shut down the Eldritch Hounds. Maybe try and take some cuts at Dude Man Bro. Try and bring him down, knock him down a peg, because he has been one of the most vocal characters on this entire squad out there. He is the one constantly in your face, always sitting there, diving up at your tier 1 tower, and kind of forcing you to make the active decision to really deal with him there. So taking down Ducky throughout the entire early game and then keeping Dude Man Bro out has allowed the Tartarus Titans to find themselves a win now in game number 2. And as we move into game number 3, this sort of starts to get a little bit interesting, Mifflin, because now we start seeing even more shake-up dynamics in the picks and bans. It goes from a lot of the standard meta to maybe a little bit more targeted and a lot more focused style of bans. We've been seeing a good mix of that so far. We'll see what changes as we move into picks and bans for game number 3 of this best of 5. We're guaranteed to go at least 4 now with a win by the Tartarus Titans in game number 2. This could be a very pivotal win for one of these two teams. It'll put themselves on match point and one step closer to the SMITE World Championships. The Hounds are not going to change up their gameplay, at least not yet, making sure to keep this nausea away from Cyno at all costs.
Yeah, I wonder. The nausea, sure. We're probably not going to get to see any more of that from Cyno, maybe even for the entirety of the rest of this phase, or season, rather. But maybe the Morrigan needs to get some eyes from the Hounds, because Paul's performance on that pick has always been exemplary, but now, having seen what he was capable of doing in the previous match, getting some of that recency in your mind, don't want to have to deal with those rotations either. The Hounds instead keep in line with the standard with the Hades in the second slot. I wonder what version of the Hounds we could see here. We've seen in the past in these longer sets from them that they're capable of playing a more long-form, subdued, late-game scaling style. Could be that they look to do so again, because the Titans, although were dominant in the entirety of Game 2, it does take them a bit longer than I would have expected to close out that match. That gold lead reaching to that 16,000, 17,000 gold point means that the Hounds, had they had a stronger scaling composition, may have been able to fight back in. The Morrigan will receive a targeted ban. The Hounds, not in love with what they had seen previously. Takes one off that mid-god pool, as do the Titans of the Agni. And it's just a shift up. Previously it was the Titans with the Ishtar for themselves. Now the Hounds grab it, And they put DMB on an incredibly high-pressure pick.
And I was wondering, for a moment there, what that final ban was going to be from the Titans. Game number 1, it was the Sylvanus Ishtar, and that left open a Danzaburou first pick for the Eldritch Hounds that they were able to grab, make work pretty well for DMB, but now having that switch up to the Ishtar. Now that kind of makes me wonder where Stuart might go. We've seen the ROM from him in the past to deal with it. Danza feels really almost exclusive just kind of to the Eldritch Hounds at the moment. We'll see if maybe there's a pickup there. What we do know is Set and Nemesis, the mid 2v2 double assassin for the Tartarus Titans.
And we'll get an idea of what exactly some of those mages that can deal with the assassins are that Crimson was talking about during the pregame interview. So clearly something that he has strategized for and a composition that the Hounds were expecting coming into this set. But just because you know it's going to happen doesn't mean you've got the perfect answers just yet. And plenty of teams in the SPL have tried to figure out that answer to Paul's set for an entire calendar year. We'll see whether or not the Hounds have got that one locked in. Prophet J-Mac calls the ROM, and it is locked in now for the Tartarus Titans. This is an incredibly strong scaling composition. Set, sure, very good in the early game, but in the late, absolutely has some of that burst potential. ROM being an attack speed stim hunter with global presence means that if any of these kills start to leak away, if you can't quite finish off the job as either a Nemesis or a Set, ROM will likely be able to take it for himself. So I like what that brings to this draft. No idea what the front line's going to be, though, for the Tartarus Titans. This is incredibly CC light in the top 3. No stuns, no knockups, no true hard CC just yet. Maybe some AoE Guardians come to mind, something like a Jingchen could be very strong here just to burn those beads a bit more consistently. We've seen Aror go towards facilitator types in the past. Even could potentially, if you want to all in on a dive style, lock in something like a Khepri and just have that Scarab's Blessing. Doesn't really help out a whole lot with the CC. Cabrakan does. Single target, but you've got a couple ways to apply it. A strong wall to deny Ishtar and Terra escape paths. This is another hyper-aggressive draft from the Titans.
I wonder if this Cabrakan is going directly to Aurora, maybe something that could be up SOT's wheelhouse potentially as well. We'll have to wait and see what the final lock-in for the Tartarus Titans is in that regard. It was Bellona Terra to couple alongside the Ishtar for the Eldritch Hounds. And an Kuang back to his more notable role of the jungle, potentially, if this gets locked in for Oathhh. So far this whole tournament, the only Kuangs we've been seeing have gone into the solo lane. So we might be seeing at least a reprise of this god in his proper role for at least a little while. Still wondering what Crimson is going to go, as you alluded to and as mentioned earlier by Crimson has been facing off against a lot of assassins mid and has had to deal with that by kind of changing up his mid god pool a little bit with some of these mages. I'm curious as to what one of those mages are. It's not going to be the Agni. That's the only one that's really been banned away. I don't think Morrigan was in the sights for him. Otherwise, they may have held that one open. So where do the Eldritch Hounds go with this one? They've got a decent bit of CC and they've got a decent bit of sustain. Is there anything lacking maybe in the Hounds composition you'd like to see in this top 2, Miff?
For now, not a whole lot of burst potential, just a standard nuke ability, not quite available just yet. But I am also very curious as to what that mage selection would be. Vulcan, of course, firmly within his god pool, but Vulcan doesn't necessarily deal with Set very well, nor a Nemesis, and that's not even evaluating what the both can do together. Merlin as the lock-in. I suppose the safety of Merlin comes from the fact that he can just hang back, doesn't really necessarily need to get up on top of the wave to deal with it, just Arcane Stance, Ice Stance, drop your dot damage, back up to your tower, and essentially rinse and repeat for the first 15-20 minutes until you've got your itemization and the rest of the team built around you. The Hounds now, 5-stacked, have got really good ways to proc the Earthen Fury. Love this Terra and how it slots into this draft. The dive potential certainly there as well. You've got your late game scaling between all the carries. But on the side of the Titans, I mean, this is just stifling. If a lead happens at all, 2,000, 3,000 gold, the Titans likely just run away with the rest of the map. I mean, it is ridiculous how well this team is going to team fight come 15 minutes into the game. If they can group up at a Gold Fury around that mid-game, it'll be very difficult for the Hounds to fight their way back in. So when I look at the Hounds, I'm thinking about generating pressure everywhere this Kuang isn't, so you can facilitate him transitioning to the late game. I do assume it is going to be Kuang in the jungle. We've seen Bellona jungle in the past as well, so there is flex potential if you do think that Kuang just has a better time scaling out of the solo. but out of the jungle, that really does limit how effective you can be. Does at least force out relics from the Titans. Quang out of solo, the enemy solo laner has to build beads, right? But Quang out of the jungle, everybody has to build beads because you're so worried about that execute throughout every portion of the game. Cabrakan in particular, very susceptible to that ability. I'm worried for the Hounds in this one. This really could be a game where the Tartarus Titans bring that speed difference between the SPL and the SEC. It's something we talk about so much, is that the SPL is capable, willing, and likely to play at a speed that the SEC does not often get a chance to practice up against. This is a draft that could leverage that very well.
So looking at least at the Eldritch Hounds composition, we've talked a lot about how Merlin doesn't really get pressure in mid, Quang out of the jungle, not really going to get a whole lot of that one. So my eyes then got to go towards maybe the dual lane. Ishtar almost going to guarantee at least something over there. Couple that one with a Terra who on her own probably not going to get a whole lot of pressure up against anybody else. Typically needs all first three levels in order to get that entire kit online to get anything going. So if you are the Eldritch Hounds, do you try and build that lead through your dual lane, get DMB and Quig a little bit ahead, or do you maybe try and facilitate this Bellona and get this solo lane going a little bit earlier?
It's hard to say, right? Facilitating Bellona would be the job of the Quang, and the Quang doesn't want to do a whole lot besides clear jungle camps and waves for the first 10, 15 levels or so. So getting pressure from your Ishtar is much more likely, and the ability to look at Gold Fury is actually very high for the Hounds. They have got really strong burn potential. We've talked about what Merlin could do in the past, one of the best at applying DPS to that objective. Quang, essentially an auto-attack jungler, can do the exact same thing. Ishtar, the best hunter, especially with the crit build at dealing with objectives as well. So playing through your duo could be one way in for the Hounds, but it is a very hard to lock down dual lane for the Titans.
It's going to be difficult for the SCC. Can they bring this one back and take the lead in the set and beat a match point? Or are the Tartarus Titans going to be the ones to do so? Let's jump right into game number 3 with Dulcin and Trelly.
Yeah, that's the important point there, Chaac. I think it's match point for whoever wins this. A game 3 at the peak of importance, the most important game probably of the year so far for the Hounds and the Titans respectively. And you know, Trelly, we've seen a bit of Quang this weekend. But it's all been solo lane Quang, if I'm remembering correctly. Oathhh is going to bring it in out of the jungle this time. Des doesn't seem like it'll build up too much pressure early in the game, but maybe later on, it's a carry style of character for Oathhh.
It certainly can be. It has to get off to a great start, and it can't be bullied by double assassin, which the Tartarus Titans have. I guess they're just more afraid of the SOT Hades, because for my money, if I knew that I could ban Naja and Nemesis and Cyno would play Chaac, I would ban those two characters every single game. I mean, that seems to be the answer more often than not. This Nemesis was disastrous last game. Of course, the Morrigan had to go. Obviously, Paul had to be shut down here. You're getting the set, which you got to imagine might not be much better depending on how you're able to deal with it. At the very least, you're able to limit some of that stealth. Maybe you're not getting one shot before the fight even begins with the set, that sort of thing. But it wasn't on the mind here of the Eldritch Hounds. They let Cyno run back this Nemesis that he's had so much success on in game number 2. And you got to think that double assassin is going to have much more early pressure than the double mage. I mean, Quang doesn't clear the wave very well. Merlin clears just fine, but you got to respect the damage of Cyno and Paul, so you can't just step up and clear the wave whenever they're both there. I'm looking to see some sparks fly, and it's probably not going to be from the Hounds early on.
What do we think? I mean, clearly mid, you're thinking Paul has an opportunity. Remember, the game plan for the Titans in game 2 was just shove pressure at Ducky. I mean, Hercules ended up, what, 0-3 at 15 minutes, something like that. Ganked him 2 or 3 times in a row, just never got anything going. So Bellona feel like a safer option to you? Does it feel like Ducky should be able to withstand some pressure, or is it even a viable place for the Titans to be putting pressure?
It definitely could be. It's not easy to gank a Bellona as the Xing Chen, especially when you want to save that ultimate for the execute, right? If Oathhh comes and ganks your lane and you've just used the washing machine, you're probably getting just burned through. It's going to be a lot of mind games here between Ducky and SOT to see who can get whose ult down first, right? Whenever that happens, then Oathhh and Cyno can just run over towards solo lane and start brawling. You know, the execute becomes a little bit more valuable in that too, but Paul is going to get the beads from Crimson early on, and now...
Oh, Oathhh is low. Cyno's going to take a tower shot. Didn't work out for him in game 1. I'll be okay here in game 3. You already got the vibe there, Trell. I mean, usually jungle and mid maybe hang out for a wave or two over in the mid lane, just see what's up. Oathhh and Crim were getting shoved back by Cyno and Paul on the double assassin early, and Crim had to use basically all of his mana to clear out the wave. Red buff is up. I don't even think felt confident in clearing that right now, so a little bit of early pressure ceded to the Tartarus Titans. And Oathhh will just play coverage on Ducky's blue buff. Now, the dual lane was relatively quiet in game number 2, where it was a bit more electric in the first game. We've got a Terra here. That'll be there for Quig, and so likely helps with a bit of sustain, but a unique support pick in the Cabrakan trophy. Not something we're often seeing, but something Aror's played plenty of times over the course of his career. Can definitely add some pressure. Maybe in moments like this, needs some pressure because Stuart is low, beads get used. And a small win for the Eldritch Hounds.
That does open up some doors. I mean, if I'm Oathhh, I'm definitely looking over towards the left side of the map. You have 2 targets with no beads. In this case, Stuart's are down and Aror just has meditation. Once you hit level 5, could be an avenue to find and execute, but you don't want to dive that tower. You see how Kuang hovering the left side of the map, got the oracles, hasn't quite hit that level 5 mark. And Paul is just staying at the tower line. Oathhh wants to stay away from that set. For the time being, it's just too much damage, too much poke, and actually Oathhh was too scared to even do the mid camps there. I thought maybe Paul would show up. Kingslayer's available. You're definitely getting soloed if you don't have level 5. Even if you do have level 5, throwing Paul up in the air, he might just pre-beads it to guarantee that kill. So you got to be careful. Either way, I think Oathhh does have the avenue to get active towards the duo. As you said last game, didn't see many sparks fly this time. Because you're looking at a Xing Chen, you still could look towards that blue, but it doesn't seem like either one of these junglers want to go for any invades.
Yeah, you know, I actually think it's an interesting thought experiment where, yes, the Titans have, with the double assassin, the ability to shove some pressure through mid and jungle early. But maybe the Hounds are saying, look, these games have gone 10, 12, 13 minutes without kills in both games. Or if there are kills, basically no gold lead. Things have stabilized. First Gold Fury isn't until like the 15-minute mark now in back-to-back games. Sure, we won't have crazy pressure early, but there hasn't been way too much happening in the early game. Could be the mindset of the Eldritch Hounds. Opening up an opportunity for something to get going a bit later on in the game. There's a slight left side hover from Oathhh here. The purple buff's going to respawn. Bead still down from Stuart for a minute. This will be a nice win for the Hounds. Steal away a bit of farm from Stuart. And it looks like Aror and Stu won't even be able to rotate over. So you give it to Quig. It's more about denial. You 2 or 3 split the purple buff. And right on time was Oathhh. And I'm not sure Aror and Stuart could have fought. And see how Kuang was over on left.
And they definitely didn't want to. I mean, at least Auror's med came back. There are opportunities to go for a med bait. You know, if Oathhh sees that execute threshold, gets a little wide-eyed, goes for it immediately right as that med ticks, you are just going to throw him up in the air, come back down, and waste your time. But usually if you see that med ticking, you're going to wait it out and try and guarantee that threshold is there either way.
Go Book of Thoth, too.
Yeah, Book of Thoth into Soul Gem has been the ranked build for Kuang. And it does shred. I've been on the receiving end of it. It's not fun. However, the issue is usually...
You weren't in the jungle, though. It had nothing to do with you.
No,
you know,
I'm like the mid laner that goes, guys, why haven't we killed this Kuang?
Right.
But in this case, Cyno already has the Brawler's Beat Stick. He knows what's coming. There's a Terra on the other team. There's a meditation. He wants the anti-heal. And he can just shield Dragon Call so easily. I mean, it's not a good matchup. Oathhh is never going to try and 1v1 Cyno until maybe level 20, even if he wants to take that fight. But Cyno's going to fall around Oathhh. I mean, that's the call, right? Wherever you see this Kuang, try and run him down. It looks like trying to find him at his back camps was the call. There is a ward dropped on it as well, but this time the Tartarus Titans are stepping up towards the blue buff as well.
Well, the blue buff not there for the Titans to invade. So Cyno will just have to settle for some back camps. Ducky will not be able to steal any of it away. We'll put some damage into Cyno. I think still, yeah, has the dashes. First gets caught by the stun, but the second safe enough. I suppose relatively low investment there for Ducky if you're not planning on using your ult anytime soon anyway. But now your safety is a bit limited, but it's going to require Cyno to turn around and want to gank you along with SOT. And no beads, so could see an impact from the Eagles rally, but don't mind the attempt on the Cyno.
Yeah, I don't hate it because the one person you should be ulting if you're not ulting SOT's ult is Cyno, right? That's the guy that would be doing the ganking. Paul is going to make the rotation over to Quig. Didn't get canceled out of his dash, so we'll have it up just in case the set decides to chase down. That purple buff goes the way of the Hounds regardless. Either way, though, I think that as long as Ducky's ulting on to Cyno, making him weak so that he can't actually fight him, it's a smart call. But Cyno is still hovering around these back camps. Every single time they respawn, Oathhh is too little too late. And Ducky knows, hey, if I get pulled in to a root and then my prots get shredded, I'm probably dying regardless. I don't want to try and step up here to this Nem, so I'm going to stay under tower until Eagles Rally comes back up. And I think that's also some smart play here from Ducky, recognizing, hey, I remember the game plan last time. It was a lot of killing me, and I don't want to start this game off to a bad foot.
Yeah, I want to avoid going 0-3 in lane this time. Now, granted, it wasn't his choice. We've talked about that. He had no say in the matter, Ducky did, in Game 2. The Titans simply selected Ducky to be the target of all of their aggression. It's the 8-minute mark. Nothing's happened, Trelly, but 1,500 gold or so have built up for the Eldritch Hounds here. Farm has been very effective, despite Cyno stealing away some of the back camps from the Hounds. Seems like Danzaburou really on the left side has gotten away quite nicely in the duo lane, a 1-level lead over Stuart. Yeah, Devourer's Gauntlet. Stacking up just fine, goes back. It's the tier 2 Shuriken. Fully stacked to the 30. Technically 29, but we're rounding up here. 30 for Stuart. So maybe a good chunk of the neutral farm has been going there. But Paul and Cyno, as you'd expect, both with a slight experience lead over their counterparts. Keeping the gold lead from being as bad as it could be. So in a moment like that, you may be hoping, if you're the Eldritch Hounds, you can find a way to force something on left, but still would be pretty early for a Gold Fury.
Yeah, Crim up 200 and Danzaburou up a lot. I've been seeing a lot of starving waves here. Remember, Stuart lost his beats early on, and then Quig and Danzaburou said, okay, we're not going to be clearing the wave at all. We're just going to sit here and let the minions kill themselves, and if you're not close enough, which Stuart never was, he gets denied all that farm. That's been continuously happening. Now Cyno has to make the rotation over, possibly an attempt to kill Quig, but I don't imagine it'll be easy. Terra very mobile and a beautiful ult from Danzaburou.
Oh, it's great from Danzaburou, but it's still a 3 versus 2. The Eldritch Hounds backpedaling away. The snipes from Stuart will connect, and that's first blood to the Titans. Oathhh on the answer, though, and it's a good answer, but not good enough. Paul and his rotation from mid has paid off in dividends. Crim, the late entry to this fight, but it's going to be great for the Titans and terrible for the Hounds on a 3-for-1 trade and a double kill for Paul.
Yeah, unfortunate for Oathhh there. I think he found a great kill, but the blink and the water illusion trying to confirm that kill is what put him down. And now a Gold Fury started up here by the Tartarus Titans. They don't have too much damage, but Aror is able to run it in a circle. Once Crimson shows up, you got to imagine this call goes away, but Crimson might be too little too late if he doesn't hurry up.
He's not showing up in the sense that he wants to stop it. He might be trying to steal it here. Skewers out from Paul, and Paul's got plenty of damage for the Merlin. Gold Fury should drop here, and it will. The late attempt from Crimson was somewhat close, so it's 3 kills plus Gold Fury. And when the Titans were 1,500 gold behind, now pull about 400 ahead. So really, it's effectively a 2,000 gold swing from that play. But if you're the Hounds, you're at least taking a deep breath and you're saying, okay, we're not down 2,000 gold. We're at least even here at the 11-minute mark.
Yeah, trying to deal with Paul at the moment is the call. I mean, he rotated all the way over. So much movement speed from Kingslayer. You can clear the wave, go to your red buff, and make it over to duo lane effortlessly. That Pyromancer does go down. It's going to help try and alleviate a little bit of that gold differential and all the gold that just went into the pockets of the Tartarus Titans. But the plan is clear. I mean, you got a death on to Cyno now. That's pretty much it. Besides that, there's a 2-0 set. I think that Danzaburou still should be able to outpressure Stuart just by nature of Ishtar's kit. Is better than Rama's at level 11. So that's not going to be the biggest issue, Stuart getting a kill, but someone's going to have to deal with Paul. If you're waiting for Ducky to rotate in, not a terrible answer. The Scourge does stop a lot of what Kingslayer tries to do, but the poke damage is really going to start adding up. Crimson does not want to step up to this set anymore.
Paul, so good on this pick. And it's something we've talked about really all year long with this Titans team is when are we going to start facilitating Paul again, even if it's just picks, the types of picks that Paul wants to play. Now in back-to-back games, Morrigan, one of his storied combinations, set here in game 3, something we've seen him run games over with in the past. Wouldn't you guess it, it's been looking good so far. All 3 kills affected by Paul.
Cyno's in left. He wants to find this gank, and he will be able to get the ult out, but Dude-Man-Bro's going for the kill.
Oh, goodness. My goodness. Cyno plus Stu, they've just got too much burst, and Dude-Man-Bro has really been the choice now and here in game 3 to be shut down. It was a lot of Ducky in game 2. Titans sending some pressure over towards left, helping Stu get back into it. Because remember, when the Hounds had their lead, 400 or 500 of it was Dude-Man-Bro over Stuart. That's now completely flipped around in this ROM in a very, very strong spot.
Yep, a lot in favor of Stuart now with that tower going down. Purple buff should be getting invaded as well. Unfortunately, for Dude-Man-Bro, not a single Hound rotated over to left lane. I mean, there's been too much pressure put towards this Ishtar. You'd think at least Quig would walk over to cover the wave, but not going to be the call. Now it's just Ducky trying to get aggressive towards Cyno. Remember, Cyno fell early on. Ooh, just missed the timeout of the shield. If that does hit, maybe you're grabbing beads with your ult, but you're diving very far under tower to do so. It looks like the right side of the map is the new play here for the Hounds. You see everyone, all blue, on the right side of the map. They are not worried about Dude-Man-Bro. They're saying, hey, sorry, you got ganked. We're not going to do much about that.
Yep.
We're going to play through Ducky if possible. And there was nothing there, so a group up on a totem is going to be the call.
Just watch out where Paul goes. That's a 2-level lead on the set. That's good for biggest in the game. Really only one of the only level leads in the game right now. Outside of Quig, 1 level ahead of Aror. Feels like all roads flow through Paul here in game 3. Wherever this set goes, wherever those skewers connect, the squishier targets baby belting down. And now in back-to-back games, this Nemesis has looked really, really good. If the Titans hold on here, and the Titans are able to win this game 3, and Cyno has another good game on this Nemesis, it's got to be something the Hounds consider as far as picks and bans go for game number 4, because it's really changed the dynamic of this Tartarus Titans team. Might do so once again, but no, an Eagles rally from Ducky. That's enough to keep Cyno at bay. And here in the downtime, it's the Titans the ones asking the questions, and the Hounds seemingly okay with just slowing things down, farming things up. The Auror's going to get burnt through a bit, but ushered out by Paul, who's still very, very strong in that set. We'll go back in. Oathhh down to half HP. Paul's actually used the Aegis here, and Dude-Man-Bro has sent his ultimate out as well, but has not provided that much lockdown. Look at all the cleave damage into the Eldritch Hounds. Quig desperately dashing away as both teams funnel through the jungle. Paul's on a killing spree. Sada's cleaned up another, but Oathhh is stuck around in the back of this fight. He's given the Eldritch Hounds their first. It could have been a lot worse, but ends up at a 2-for-1.
Sada's gonna chase down Crimson though. Lazy back. Will the yoink hit? No. And Flicker's not back up. This should be an easy execute on SOT though. Beautiful input though. He's gonna be able to
Sot! Oh, Sot does it to him. It's a rampage for Paul. It's a deicide for the Titans. Out of nowhere, the game ignites, and it's the SPL squad punching down on the Eldritch Hounds with a little style from SOT.
Wow, I cannot believe that. Just saved the ultimate. Perfect time. Oathhh saw a kill flash before his eyes and didn't think to wait for that ultimate. Just went for it, and now Fire Giant certainly opened up here for the Tartarus Titans. Ducky's on his way back. Quig is also barreling towards it, but they might be too little too late or just not care to go for the steal. It looks like Quig might path this way. It's going to be close, but Terra doesn't have too much damage.
Look, you know, we'll see what Quig does here. Nothing. He'll get stunned by Aror. You know, if you're Oathhh in that moment, or if I'm Oathhh in that moment, I'm wondering why in the world Xing Chen still has ultimate after what was a relatively big jungle fight. Like, in what world is Whirlwind of Rage and Steel still available? But it's this one. It's this reality. And unfortunately for Oathhh, it's not the simple execute. And that's what I was talking about in game 2. When you look at like stylish plays and good little mechanical things that SOT can do, that's where he's really made a name for himself this year and really over the last couple of years in the SPL. Pyromancer confirmed by the Eldritch Hounds. Oathhh trembled just a bit. Is that slight tremble enough to kill off this Kuang? Sure is. Paul going crazy in game 3, 6-0. There's been zero answer for the set, and there might still be the skewers. They hurt. Quig will narrowly escape.
They're gonna back up here. Fire Giant in their hands. The Tartarus Titans have all the fight in the world. The gold's still not outrageous. It's only about 3K, but if they get everything they want here with this Fire Giant, that's when it's going to start to balloon out of control.
Hounds need to shut down Paul.
Yeah, the 6-0 shutdown would be massive. The issue is who is doing consistent damage to Paul. You've got a very small amount of anti-heal. It's Oathhh, essentially, at this point. So if Danzaburou and Oathhh combine together, maybe you're looking to burn through Kingslayer, but I would say it's ignore Paul and farm time. I mean, that's a level 18 6-0 set, and there's not enough anti-heal to deal with that ultimate.
What do you think? What's the communication there? I mean, Merlin might be the best applicator of Divine Ruin in the game. One of them, at least. Give it to Oathhh, who, again, can apply it to specific targets. Is that Oathhh thinking maybe that he's going to be doing some 1v1ing with Paul? Has Crimson got his mind elsewhere? What do you think the read is? And I'll let you think about it. As Oathhh will go up and over the wall, looking for Paul. Red buff stolen away, but risky play there by Oathhh.
Yeah, but Ducky is still hiding, just in case Paul decided to go in on that. Oathhh is still weak. It needs to get out of this fight, but Danzaburou is going to have to get his beads burning. Crimson late on the beats.
Oh, no.
That's going to stink. Cyno has the chase
body
down
blocks.
again. The body blocks.
Oh, the body
stuck.
blocks. They've set up the snipes, and the last one's there, but it's Sot who deserves it. The Danzaburou drops for the double. This one's getting out of hand quickly. At 1845, another couple for the Tartarus Titans, 10 kills ahead, and about 5,000 gold. And this was the risk, Charlie, that the desk was talking about. If this Titans draft gets ahead, they can just run it down at the Eldritch Hounds. This is a 19-minute mid-lane Phoenix siege, and just a couple of picks that brought us here. The Titans should get it. They will get it. They've got Oathhh hovering in the back, but in a 5v3, there's no chance.
No chance is the right term. I mean, there's nothing that can step up. Sot is having a fantastic performance. I mean, flashy numbers for Paul, sure, but this Xing Chen diving to the back line, getting relics, the body blocks onto Crimson. It is just disastrous here for the Eldritch Hounds. No one can get online. Danzaburou has some decent itemization, but it's going to change once Stuart goes back and actually spends some of this gold. He's got 1,700 in hand. Paul has 3K in hand. He's been doing nothing but farming, and he's still the furthest ahead of anyone else on his team. Just, there's very little avenues left to find a pick. I'm thinking Aror didn't go beads. He's got meditation and bracer, so maybe Oathhh is able to execute Aror under a Phoenix siege. Besides that, it's not looking very possible that the Eldritch Hounds are able to fight back. Stay under the Phoenix and defend and farm maybe, but actually take a 5v5 in the jungle towards a Fire Giant, definitely not.
No, the Hounds, with a miraculous game in Game 1, overwhelmed the Titans, who have steadied themselves. And now, if you're able to close out Game 3, which again, the Titans should, if this is a team that wants to contend for a world championship, these are the types of games when you're nearly 7,000 gold ahead. SEC team or otherwise on the other side, you should feel confident in closing out. And I do think the Tartarus Titans are feeling that way after the way that game number 3 has gone here. Oni Fury up, Pyromancer will be up around the same time as the Fire Giant. Eldritch Hounds, I guess only your mid lane Phoenix is gone, but not sure. I mean, you have Burn, you don't really have great steal unless Ducky wants to jump in and try to take it away. Titans have a pretty easy opportunity here, and they've got deep ward coverage. I mean, everywhere the Hounds go on their right side of the jungle, it's going to get spotted out, and it's actually very risky. Not sure the Hounds realize it, but a pick or two in the Fire Giant simply doesn't matter. And the Tartarus Titans turn around and end the game. But the Fire Giant will drop at 21 minutes, a breakneck pace here in Game 3. The burn will commence. And it looks like the Eldritch Hounds actually will show up. The fight instead is what the Titans are looking for. It's an unstoppable Paul. It's what you've needed to see from the veteran mid laner. Again, Oathhh trades out, but it's these late trades that have just not made a difference. Aror, the only one from the Titans to drop. The Eldritch Hounds have their mid 3 left running. A whirlwind of rage and steel delivers Quig to the back line, and it's Paul who's taken over the game alongside SOT. and they will close it out. The Titans will be 1 game away from the SWC.
I mean, they did not left off the W key one single time. Aror unfortunately gets executed, but with Oathhh not having that ultimate, he's not going to have too much damage here to try and defend. Smart call and low health bars, maybe. They're fearing the damage from Oathhh, and it actually looks like that is the play.
Okay.
They didn't have minions.
Too early.
So Oathhh was able to get enough poke to just delay the Titan going down. Phoenix will respawn here as well, so.
Luckily, I'm not feeling too nervous about an early end call. I'd like to think that at half HP Titan, up 8,000 gold, you're still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, no doubt. But at the very least, Fire Giant didn't go down, and mid-Phoenix spawns back in. So the Hounds could go for a steal. Going for the fight, I still don't think is the call. They were able to kill Aror, but if you have to use Ducky and Quig diving the back line, giving up Dude Man Bro to an onslaught of poke before the fight even begins just to pick Aror, definitely not worth it. I'm thinking you send one in as a sleeper agent, maybe Ducky, go for the Eagles rally, go for the steal. If not, you're defending. You're staying underneath your Phoenix. You're not stepping up. Look at the ward coverage. I mean, the Tartarus Titans had 5 different avenues of vision last time. Still 4 wards available. No one is walking up this Fire Giant without them knowing about it.
I mean, it really looks, I mean, the game plan's got to be simple for the Titans here. You'll get Fire Giant on everyone. The mid lane Phoenix is a couple auto attacks away from dead. What's the call from the Hounds, though? They realize they've got a little bit of time. So can you drop this tier 1? It's only the right side towers have dropped on the Titan side of the map. Actually looks like a right side Phoenix shove. Remember the Titan healing up a little bit here, so it's not going to be as low when the Titans ultimately go in and try to siege. Now the Titans have backed off. They've reset. They want to spend up a little bit of that extra gold. It's telling me this is a team that does not want to make any mistakes. They've realized they've got a great opportunity to go 1 game away from Worlds, and they don't want to roll the dice on any unnecessary plays.
And that's probably smart. I mean, Crimson gets a power spike there, finishes Soul Gem, but already had the Reaver and the Charon's coin, so has a good amount of damage to try and deal with these tanks. It's just, can you survive? And unfortunately, it's been no. Pretty much every time the Tartarus Titans step up towards this Merlin. Dude Man Bro finished the kin size, that's also going to help out, but if you're looking at the opposite side, Paul upgraded for the Hero's Axe. Aurora's got Compassion now. The Divine Ruin last item for SOT, he's going to be doing even more damage. There was a lot of setup before, but now you're actually going to have to respect what the Xing Chen is doing damage-wise, and that's never fun. I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans should just split up the fight here. Wherever Paul decides to go, you got to be hotkeying that Aegis or grouping up and try and defend because he's doing so much on this set.
Yeah, I'm just watching and waiting for one of these skewers to just fly through a carry. Could leave him around half HP. Crim narrowly avoids that. And you've got Merlin, who'll clear out these waves. Titans fully regened. I thought that the Tartarus Titans were going to get even more aggressive to try to end this game. Now they are. Cyno will get the kill onto Oathhh, and now the defense softened on the Eldritch Hounds side of the map. Mid lane Phoenix also drops, and the seeds have been sowed. Titans will take another deep breath here. The left side Phoenix is down to half.
Yeah, and that's that 1v1 you don't want to take. I mean, Oathhh, whenever he tried to do damage into Cyno, eats a shield, Cyno gets healed, and then just chases you down. Crimson steps up way too far, and Paul and SOT should be able to clean this one up. A little help from the snipes from Stuart. He gets the credit for that one.
And now Oathhh, Crim, they're gone. 5v3 on the defense for the Eldritch Hounds. Titan has fully regened. Titans are going to take their time. Left side bird drops. You're crossing all T's, dotting all I's, killing all Hounds. Cyno will run down another. It's a backflip into the fountain for Dude Man Bro. I was a bit early the first time. I'm confident the second time. The Titans, they will take game 3, and they will indeed move 1 game away from Worlds.
I mean, Sot, Paul, and Stuart go undying. A triple kill in the fountain for Stuart there. A lot of questions and not a lot of answers from the Eldritch Hounds. The Kuang found some picks early on, but just was not able to get late game. I didn't see anything from Dude Man Bro. He was essentially nullified. Lots of ganks early on, but once Stuart got off to a good start, that was pretty much it. Dying almost first in these engagements. That was just a game where you got to have a short memory about. I wouldn't try and think too deep into it unless, again, you're taking away that Nemesis from Cyno, but the Nemesis wasn't even the big problem there. There was so many more problems the Titans had.
Well, in game one, it felt like the Titans' problem was a composition that just got steamrolled later on. Big crit numbers really melted it. Now it seems like the opposite, where the Hounds are having problems with the draft that the Titans are bringing forward. It was pressure from the double assassin that we talked about. And Mifflin really expressed this on the desk, and you talked about it a bit on the cast as well, where if that draft starts to build up even a little bit of a lead, they can just W key. They can keep running it down. They can keep expanding on that lead, and the Hounds will not have an answer, and it's exactly what happened. The moment Paul got a slight taste of a lead here in this game, SOT, some great plays on the Xing Chen. It all felt over. So now the Tartarus Titans, one game away from going back to the SMITE World Championship. We'll see if they can get there. Game 4 up next.
With OGs, don't test my gangster. Think I'm made. We gon' tryna be here for a while in a good time. But we ain't stressed out, just good wine. When I look in the mirror, I look fine. Good people, times, and good wine. Good wine, good wine, good wine, good wine. Tryna be here for a while in a good time. But we ain't stressed out, just good wine. When I look in the mirror, I look fine. Good people, times, and good wine. Good wine, good wine, good wine, good wine. Streets get ugly, yeah, I seen it. Please believe me, I be tucked. Don't like smoking, last so long, so I keep sipping on this cup. Don't crave attention, just to mention I be chilling in the cut. Glass got empty, now I'm searching through my wallet for a $1 bill. Listen, change in my pocket, oh no. Hit my girl, can you spot me? I just need a little loan. Out the house and I'm just vibing on the low. She said she on the way, but she gon' ride it right. Tryna be here for a while in a good time. When we ain't stressed out, just good wine. When I look in the mirror, I look fine. Good people, times, and good wine. Good wine, good wine, good wine, good wine. Tryna be here for a while in a good time. When we ain't stressed out, just good wine. When I look in the mirror, I look fine. Good people, times, and good wine. Good wine, good wine, good wine, good wine.
Tartarus Titans come out swinging in game number 3 as they're able to take the lead in this set and put themselves now up on match point. And a lot of this off the back of Paul back on this set, something that's been banned away from him consistently throughout this set, but something that he has dominated on through the regular season of play. And the Eldritch Hounds may have just gotten a good reminder as to why this is something they might want to continuously ban out. I'm J-Mac. I got Mifflin joining me on the desk to help me try and break down this one, because Mifflin, this one really just kind of felt like the Paul show. Paul rotates over to duo lane early, gets some good shutdown stuff on Dude Man Bro and Quig, taking them out. Oathhh is able to get a couple of these little 1-for-X trades at the end, but unfortunately for him, it's 1 for way more than just 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely give credit to Paul, because that performance on set generates a whole lot of the pressure on map, creates the opportunities for everybody else on his team. But I also want to highlight Cyno as well. I mean, some of those late game team fights, Cyno just walks in alone and then walks out alone. It is ridiculous, the amount of aggressive play that he was able to get away with. But again, only facilitated because of the performance that Paul has throughout the early. If anything, I would say the Eldritch Hounds are playing a bit over-respectful in this game. So often I saw opportunities for them to fight back in, but they were so concerned with the disengage that they weren't quite capable of returning that damage. Oathhh in particular wasn't quite able to match pace with anybody on the Tartarus Titans, which is a byproduct of Kuang. You understand that that is the risk that you incur when you lock in a god that is as late game slanted as Kuang, especially in the jungle. So when that's the case, if you want to facilitate him, you need to find your pressure elsewhere. I'm not certain that Merlin can hold his own up against a set. In fact, I'm certain he can't, having some history now to back up that statement. Ducky isn't quite able to match the rotations of SOT on this Jing Chen. The massive teamfight impact of those Whirlwind and Raging Steels were just stifling for the Eldritch Hounds. This was one that we said in P's and B's could very likely go in the early game and very likely go quickly afterward for the Tartarus Titans, and they execute on it very well.
They did just that, and undying for 3 players on the team, both the carries in Paul and Stuart and SOT, with also an undying performance for the Tartarus Titans. Nets them a very easy game number 3 and puts them on match point for qualification to the SWC. All they've got to do now is win 1 more game, and this team makes it to Worlds. Unfortunately for the Eldritch Hounds, it's a little bit harder than that. Not only do you have to beat the Tartarus Titans in game 4, you've also got to do it again in game number 5. So this is where we have to see the Eldritch Hounds pull out maybe another trick out of their bag here to see if they can find some kind of way back into this one. Again, the silver lining for the Eldritch Hounds is a loss here doesn't mean that they're out of the tournament. It doesn't take away their qualification just yet, but they still have to go through another set and could potentially have to face off against the Highland Ravens in order to try and qualify there. So trying to get into Worlds right now, probably a little bit more ideal for both these squads, Miff.
I think so, and the Tartarus Titans primed and ready to do so. Just 1 more game for the Tartarus Titans to stamp their ticket over to Arlington, Texas, and compete at the biggest stage SMITE has to offer. But they first have to get through the Eldritch Hounds, and I expect the Hounds to bring a bit more pressure this time around. The nature of the last couple of their losses being so early game contingent, I think, would likely leave a bad taste in your mouth. You want to be able to fight back at the only portion of the game that you play every single match. It's unavoidable. You can't escape the early. Games can end before the late, but you will never load into a late game match. So the Hounds, I think, should keep their eyes on some of those pressure pieces that the Titans have been able to pick up in the last couple of games. And so far, they've done a good job of it. That set has been a major component of the Titans' success in the last couple of matches and gets banned out immediately.
Now the question, is the Naja going to eat a ban this time? Because for the Hounds in the games of past, that has been their first ban option. It's going to make it through on the Eldritch Hounds side of the bans. Will the Tartarus Titans let the Naja through and risk giving that one to Oathhh? Or maybe try and bank on the fact that Oathhh wouldn't go for that one, maybe leave a couple of other picks up. Cyrano, Ishtar still available as the Tyr and Agni are banned away. On the other side, Ishtar would be a priority pick for Dude Man Bro to grab, but it feels risky leaving Cyno for Naja, and they're not going to do that. Naja does get drafted for the Eldritch Hounds.
Some pressure, the ability to get involved early, threat towards beads, and wombo combos could be drafted a little bit later on in the draft, but Naja wasn't the only threat allowed through P's and B's. With so many dedicated target bans from the Hounds, you gotta let something through. Something has to give. And SOT likely will be piloting the Hades this time around. A very high pressure pick. One that could just itemize nearly entirely towards damage, but still be incredibly tanky. Brings over some sustain in combat to his team as well. And it might not be the craziest hard CC in the game, but Pillars of Agony feels like can force beads pretty consistently, and barring that, you've at least got a 2-second fear. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Hades Ishtar for the Tartarus Titans, Ram Amaterasu, the answer for the Hounds, and a bit of a deviation for Dude Man Bro, who's typically been going towards the Danzaburou when the Ishtar and the Sylvanus have been removed from the table. So seeing the swap up there to get some of that semi-global with the snipe pressure, and then something new for Ducky. Now 4 games for Ducky, 4 different gods picked up throughout. It's been Tyr, Hercules, then Bellona, and now the Amma. The Titans round out their draft with a Pele. I can't call that this will be going over to Cyno because we've seen Paul play this one in mid a couple of times as well.
Yeah, the Titans have really figured out what has worked so far in this set, and it has been pressure, 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 and they've got it once more with their top 3. Your dual lane pressure, it's lined up. I mean, I don't care what support you line up with an Ishtar. She's going to be able to hold her own or potentially just dominate that lane on her own. Hades as well. There's not many gods in the game that can keep up with his clear. I struggle to come up with one off the top of my head, and even if they can keep up with his clear, they're not keeping up with the sustain as well. And then Pele out of mid, just run it down aggressive with the Maui to boot. This is scary stuff for the Hounds. They're going to have to draft something crazy here to turn around the entirety of this Pix Bans phase. Naja plus Standard Mage, always a strong combo. Could dissuade Paul from getting aggressive on this Pele, assuming again that it is going towards Paul. There is flex potential with that pick, but historically, it has been him piloting it for this team. If I'm the Hounds, where do you look here? AoE damage to maybe stop some of this dive potential from the Titans, something that can just control these jungle corridors. Could help out a fair bit. Crimson got a tall task here. I do not envy mage players in situations like this, when you just look across the screen and see all that dive potential. Not only do you need to concern yourself with the ability to return damage, but its survivability and getting into that mid to late game that I think probably weighing heavily on Crimson's mind now. In situations in the past, Crimson's fallen back towards things like Thoth, just to get that long-ranged artillery damage. Could help out a bit here. Still not ideal, especially with that wall spawned up by the landfall from Maui. But you've got so much CC setup on your side, and even more now with the Athena. What could possibly flank this? I love the Athena pick, just as a disruption factor. Oh, you went in with Volcanic Lightning, or you're trying to follow up on Landfall, Confound, turn them away, you can buy some time for your team, or set up for that damage follow-up. But as of now, the damage follow-up, we're still waiting to see it.
Yeah, it's a huge question mark for us right now. So we get to wait and see what that lightning bolt fills up with for the Eldritch Hounds. Is it going to be the Thoth? Is it going to be maybe a Vulcan that's been left open till this point?
Vulcan would be scary here.
A couple of things available.
Tough.
And I was just thinking, you need something not only long raids, some big bursts, but something that can escape not just the Maui, but Pillars of Agony out of Hades, try and get away from Pele. Even Ishtar's ultimate has quite a bit of range to it. And a good call out by you there, Miss. Something that Crimson has been playing since the beginning of the season, has been playing since his time on console. Thoth going to be the final lock-in for the Hounds.
I have had too many games played against Crimson personally back in the console days on this Thoth. This is a pick that he has loved for a very long time. We used to accuse this guy of cheating on console. We'd say to play on keyboard and mouse because he was so consistent at landing these abilities, positioning key when you're playing a Thoth, especially into a draft like this. There is no margin for error into a dive composition like this from the Titans. If this Thoth steps out of line, he's dead. You demand perfection in a situation like this. And with your back against the wall as well, don't want to go out 3-1. I like the composition built around Thoth. You've got so much setup. Just about everybody except for the Ram can set up for you. So that final judgment should connect. And now you've got your target for it. So will be Pele out of the jungle and Vulcan in mid. Thoth versus Vulcan. I don't know what year it is anymore. 2023, I guess. Could have been 2018. This is a wild matchup, but one that I think the Titans have just got so much edge in the early game. It's all on the Hounds to withstand.
So pushing for the late game, the call for the Eldritch Hounds. You've got some decent, at least, hold in lane. I mean, Thoth doesn't have to step too far up to the wave to try and clear out, so you can keep your distance from things like Vulcan or Pele trying to dive in. Amaterasu versus Hades, probably won't see too many sparks flying over in that lane unless we see a rotation from the jungler, and then Athena Maui, both some great setup for these squads. So for the Hounds to hold out at that point, for the Hounds to really be able to make it to that late game, is there a player maybe in particular for the Hounds to step up to allow this team to get to that point?
Defender of Olympus got to be perfect, and it's got to be perfect every time, right? If the dive is as concise as I'm projecting from the Tartarus Titans, they're all going to jump on one guy. That means that if Quig is playing heads up, he can give over so much damage mitigation, maybe get you out of some of those stickier situations. But it's everybody on the Eldritch Hounds. By nature of the composition that the Tartarus Titans have built here, the bleed could start anywhere. Any one of these lanes could start a bleed and a trickle effect that leaks into the entirety of the map. So everybody from the Hounds needs to be able to play safe, needs to be ready. It's all about getting into that mid game. Once you get to mid game, the Hounds have got some fight back potential, but in the earliest portions, I mean, barring some egregious misplays from the Tartarus Titans, I just can't see a way in before like second item for the Hounds to take some fights.
This Thoth is something that we don't get to see very often anymore. I mean, we dial back to the beginning of Season 9. Thoth was one of the hottest picks on the market. It was something that was working so well for Crimson, so well for so many of these mid laners. But we haven't seen it in a while. We'll have to see if Crimson still has it in him. We'll have to see if he still has that Thoth power that he's had for his entire career to bring it out one final time, potentially against the Tartarus Titans, and swing this back. Can the Eldritch Hounds make it to that 5th game? Can we get a Game 5 in our first best of 5 of the weekend with still a few more to go? Qualifications on the line for these two teams. The Tartarus Titans win it. They're in the SWC. They can coast the rest of this weekend and wait until next week. The Eldritch Hounds have got to find the turnaround here. Can they do it and take us to game number 5, or is this going to be the 3-1 for the Tartarus Titans? To do that, let's jump into game number 4 with the casters right now.
Now the heaviest game of the year, right? I can just say that every single time we keep going in this set. I think that's how it works. Titans, 1 game away from Paul, from Aror being back at Worlds. Some storied career. Cyno, 1-1 in the past. Can it happen? That's the question. The Titans have built up all their momentum. Trella, you and I were honestly talking after game 1 for the Eldritch Hounds, how convincing they looked. You know, it wasn't a must-win rules-wise for the Titans, but we were thinking mental-wise, game 2, Titans needed to win it. You know, coming back after a couple big deficits would have been a lot, though Paul has done that plenty of times in his career. Now it's flipped, and it's literal for the Eldritch Hounds. You got to win 2 straight against some of the best in the world.
They definitely do, and I think dropping back to some comfort picks when your back is against the wall can be a good strategy. I mean, EruptCrimson on the Thoth, a combo that has been around for quite some time. However, I think I touch on some of Mifflin's concerns about how difficult it is to actually pilot this character into the Pele, you know, into the Maui. Especially if Sot starts rotating in, that could be trouble. You only get 1 pair of beads. You gotta be watching out for it. However, I think Oathhh still does have that ability to alleviate some of that pressure. You're worried about Paul, take him up into the sky. You're worried about Cyno, get his beats down, you take him up into the sky as well. There's plenty of opportunity there to just try and erase someone from the map. Win fire wheels into that assault and just dead. Like, that Thoth ultimate can really just remove someone from play if you're able to land it like that. Quig taking a lot of damage early on. That's what the Ishtar brings. And Dubambro actually had to body block some of those auto attacks just to make sure his Athena was fine.
Man, if Tartarus Titans win this one, a date with the Highland Ravens for the Eldritch Hounds, that would be quite a matchup. That one, Worlds or go home. Both of our best of 5s tomorrow, that case. Brim's got to dodge out a bit of the damage here. As Paul has now changed up his picks a bit in the last handful of games. It was Tiamat. We saw some Set. Go to the Vulcan now here in game number 4. Such a strong Paul pick as well, and there's some setup around it. But I think, you know, analyzing the pick ban trail is very unique, right? Because the Eldritch Hounds, they take away the Morrigan, they take away the Nemesis. That's a great pull from Aror, and Quig had to dash away. But you ban out so much that you end up leaving the Hades open. That's now a massive threat. SOT specifically on Hades, so strong. When you play this type of build where you can play aggressive but also sustain up through a lot of return damage, it's sort of the best of both worlds. And I think that's something the Eldritch Hounds really got to think about. Looking at anti-heal, those types of items very early on.
Yeah, could be something that the Hounds need to prioritize, and possibly some invades trying to play through SOT also on the way, because Ducky doesn't have good confirmation. I mean, Devour Souls with all the ghost minions spawning in really is some free confirmation. Ducky tries and succeeds to steal that one away. That's going to help out so much. I mean, not letting SOT get off to that massive lead really does start to add up. Quig, make sure to land the hog there, so the Tartarus Titans are 0 for 2 on invades. But it didn't seem like Oathhh was going to make the rotation over anyways. He said, like, hey, Duck, you fend for yourself. I got to help Crimson. I mean, there's been so much poke going towards this Thoth. They had ample opportunity to try and get aggressive in the mid lane. It's worked out thus far. I mean, once you get one item online, I think Thoth into Vulcan is a great matchup. You never really have to worry about his damage. And that's what I'm talking about. You can just dash in, so much answer back. I think Paul has to watch his positioning. I mean, I know that we were talking about EruptCrimson being under fire, but Vulcan is not the safest mage in the world, and you're never going to outrange this Thoth.
No, but man, what a unique position we're going to get later on in team fights in this game, Traily. If we're somewhat even, it's really coming down to it. Crimson with Final Judgment. Earthshaker from Paul. That's going to be a fun battle to watch. Quig low. He's been under pressure all lane long. Once again, we'll have to dash away. This time, Meditation worth its weight in gold. It's topped off the health bars. That's an overstatement. It is slightly refilled the health bar of this Athena, who would love to stick around until level 5. The longer the threat looms here in this lane, Quig's going to be a bit more susceptible. And so Aror, Charlie's looked very nice so far on this Maui and building up a bit of lane pressure alongside the Ishtar.
I was wondering if Auror's going to hit 5. He does, but it looks like not looking for the landfall. Quig had that ultimate, or the dash rather, charged up and was ready to leave at a moment's notice. But Purple Buff is spawning back in, and instead of looking for Paul, the Vulcan with no beads, Oathhh makes the rotation over. Wants to look at Stuart. Is going to do some damage, gets the beads down. Immune.
Stu's in some trouble. Stu's in some trouble. Last auto, it's in from Dude Man, bro. Who cares where all the pressure's been going? It's about where it is now. And an ult in from Oathhh and an ult in from Quig. It's too much. It's basically a 3v1 for Stuart in the first blood. And who does it land on but Dude Man, bro, who's been having some quiet games in the last 2. Showed up here at the start of game 4. A lot of Crim maybe took a bit more damage. Paul may let the ult fly. Will anyway. And it'll clip Crim! Paul flexes the muscles. Remember in the early interview, Crim said, I've never laned against Paul on game day. Well, that's what Paul does to you on game day, and it's a solo in the mid lane for Paul and the Titans.
They were bouncing back and forth DPS, but that Final Judgment does not do as much damage as the Earthshaker, especially if you're not going to be landing the fully charged one. Paul focus him out perfectly, use that turn, and now Oathhh getting some pressure towards him. One more shot of that Volcanic Lightning, and now Cyno gets a solo kill. The Tartarus Titans are heating up.
The ebbs and flows of game 4. It's a great start for the Hounds in the duo lane. It's bad in mid, and bad over on the right side of the jungle. And now Oathhh drops. Cyno feeling himself a little bit on the Pele, a playmaking style of pick. And what the Titans need to feel a bit more comfortable around the middle of the map. Crimson's gone Divine Ruin first item, so is Paul. So anti-heal nicely applied. Help mitigate some of that early pressure.
And now, we were talking about positioning. EruptCrimson down a full level to the counterpart, this Vulcan. Just doing so much. Remember, Stuart's beads are down, so had to use that ultimate to try to immune out the taunt there. Did not want any more aggression coming from Oathhh. But where's Oathhh heading? Right on back over to duo lane, trying to see if he can find this Ishtar one more time. Steps over a ward, so probably not going to be the case. And Aurora is also defending this red buff. But, I mean, the answer has always been who's going to deal with Paul at the moment. Looks like Oathhh is going to try and take him up, beads down. Paul's going to return some good damage, but Crimson, he's got to be able to finish this.
Yeah, Crim's got Final Judgment. Oathhh back to mid. Both teams swinging for the fences, and both have connected, but now Oathhh stuck around. Didn't really have a choice. I wouldn't say he overstayed. It was just the Titans very quick on their way into mid. Oathhh is now set up too, but he's also died off twice. Ducky will use the Dazzling Offensive to get away from that Pillars of Agony. You know, Traily, every once in a while, the potential final games of sets slow down. I'm happy both teams trying to take a more active approach here and wrestle control for themselves in Game 4.
Yeah, every single lane has its own story. I mean, Dude Man Bro's ahead, he's bullying Stuart, but in mid, Paul was ahead for a bit. Oathhh shows up. Beautifully timed beads to get out of the Windfire wheels, but it doesn't matter. Holding Paul in place that long means that EruptCrimson can answer back with that thought damage, final judgment for the finish. And maybe some aggression onto Aror is in snipe range, but the meditation is ticking, and it looks like Dude Man Bro is not going to try and go for it and the invade. So they've got no eyes on Paul, and they don't want to deal with an Earthshaker over the wall. That'd be some big damage, and they don't want to deal with it. Smart call. They're just going to grab the Obelisk, and that's going to go the way of the Eldritch Hounds. They get a Trebuchet over in Ducky's lane, but I don't imagine he's going to need that anytime soon. Does have a small lead over SOT. Every single blue buff that we've seen has not gone well. Ducky's been able to confirm that buff over SOT despite usually not being able to, but look at this sneak. No one knows this is happening just yet, and final judgment's available.
I cannot get over the Gold Fury just chasing around the supports in the Fury pit. What a call from the Eldritch Hounds! Take control of the game and your destiny here in Game 4. That equalizes the gold. And it's a Gold Fury pull, confirm all of it for the Eldritch Hounds. Didn't even need to use the final judgment. More so than anything else, now it's the Titans. They were feeling confident in a pull. They won't be able to sneak it away. And that's a veteran type of call there from the Eldritch Hounds. You know, it's easy to get swamped up. You've lost 2 pretty swift games to the Tartarus Titans. You want something to say about it here. But it's Cyno once again looking for Oathhh. He'll dash forward. He won't get it. Crimson turns around. And it's goodbye Cyno for the first time this game. That's been the run back attempt now a couple of times. It's worked the previous few. Not this one. And now we're all tied up in kills in Game 4.
I get why Cyno stepped up, but why did he go under tower? He could have easily just ran to the left and immuned everything and not died. It looks like he thought he was too committed and really wanted to go for that dive underneath the tower. Oathhh will be just fine. Great call to just ult out there. Getting the beads down from Cyno also going to be big. That opens up some kill opportunity here for the Eldritch Hounds. Puts themselves about 400 gold up, not the biggest deal, but a confident win, because as you said, how many times this set has Oathhh died because of that invade, because of Cyno at his back camps? This time around, they were ready for it. The rest of the Hounds came to play.
They sure did. And what's building up what could be such an exciting Game 4, and maybe if we're lucky, a Game 5, the Hounds are able to continue this pace. Now, game will change when the solo laners rotate in. Do not underestimate what a big Pillars of Agony or a big Dazzling Offensive can do. Because honestly, I think Trelly, a big thing that's been missing, and some of it's been active decision-making from the Titans, is Ducky controlling things in the space in the initiation department. Was there in spades in the first game. It's been a bit quiet in the last couple. Amaterasu's in a strong spot. Golden Blade, Shogun's Kusari, that early core of items finished now. Laning phase. This felt just A-okay. And again, a trend that was happening in Game 1 that has not happened in a little while is this. Dude Man Bro simply zoning Stuart away from farm. 2, 3, 4, 5 minions per wave getting taken down. Stu will be able to step up and finish off the rest. But pressure's been ceded a bit over to this Ram. Ram snipes later in the game. Absolutely an opportunity here for the Hounds.
Certainly could be. Looks like Dude Man Bro is going to just back off as Cyno's on the left side of the map. I mean, Oni Fury will be spawning in a bit, in about 2 minutes, but Pyromancer is up now. And Ducky realizes that better than anyone. He's got plenty of damage. The Shogun's Kusari passive is going to help out with Oathhh. They're going to start this up. Only Sot to defend. Would be a decent steal opportunity, but the taunt in should make sure that Sot's fine. But he's going in here. He wants a kill on Oathhh.
Oh, forward and then back. And this is going to be Quig joining the fight. Sot dropped on Ducky. Gets the kill, and Cyno goes in alone, and all the CC chains together. A double kill for the Amaterasu. Pyromancer +2 to go, please. The Hounds have taken their order, and they've got it. And they're rolling away from the drive-through with an extra 1,000 or so gold than they had before.
Cyno's beads came up 3 seconds ago. He decided to go in a little bit too early. Could have waited it out, could have maybe chased someone to back camps, but saw the Pyromancer, saw Sot do so much damage. Oathhh sat in that Pillars of Agony just long enough to bait him in. And then the Eldritch Hounds collapse and push that gold lead even further up. They're climbing up to 2K now. They want to set up for this Oni Fury in about a minute, so they're going to get more pressure on the left side of the map. You got 2 kills onto Crimson, and Ducky sitting at 2. That's a level 15 Amaterasu now. What was a 1-level game, Ducky was just finding a bit more farm than sought. 1 death means a 3-level swing. And that is absolutely massive in the solo lane. Tier 1 tower is gone. You were talking about Ducky being able to control the game. I think he's in position to do so. He's 1K gold ahead of SOT. And you got to look towards these carries. What happens when Stuart is looking down the face of a level 15 Amaterasu? He's going to have to run.
And this is where Ducky can rally the team behind him in a position like this. It has been back and forth for Cyno. Really, this game, some great dives in have worked out. The last couple, not so much. Looking at items and levels. Signs pointing to Ducky, the player that Crimson has said transformed the way that this Eldritch Hounds team plays and thinks, giving them confidence. Showing you why here in game number 4. You're about to have an Oni Fury up. Titans not far enough behind to completely forget it, but 2,500 gold, nothing to scoff at. Nearly 4,000 experience. Gotta follow where this Amaterasu goes. Teleport just gets used, so one of the massive leads, the massive lead on the map, not present on the left side. Something the Titans will be happy to see, but can quickly rotate over if the Eldritch Hounds feel like they want a 5v5.
I mean, it's not going to be easy just because Oathhh has had some pretty clear targets in the past for these fights. Cyno is sitting on left, did step on a ward, so Dude Man Bro should know exactly where that Pele's at. But there's no beats down. I mean, SOT's beats come back up in 5 seconds. Besides that, everyone else should be ready for that ultimate from Oathhh. I'm thinking Ducky is farming over on the right side of the map for a reason. Uses Windfire Wheels to get away from that landfall ultimate Aror. That's a good trade. This Hades is here. I mean, they're going for the Oni Fury. Paul's got good bursts. It's all on Crimson to try and outplay.
Ducky is not. Ducky is not. So the Titans here as 5. Good Pillars of Agony. Quig clearly gets maybe a bit overextended there, pulled in. It's a simple play for the Tartarus Titans, but a couple big ultimates get used. Are they? The Hounds still considering a fight here. Sought forward. Gets the fear onto one. Cyno dashes in as well. And Dude Man Bro, thanks to the Aegis, lives a little bit longer. Cyno looking for Dude Man Bro, who's up in the air. Crimson drops Stuart. The final snipe. It's fantastic. And Ducky with another. The Hounds down a man. Still find a way to make the fight work. It's a throwback to game 1, an odd-numbered fight that still comes up, Hounds.
And it doesn't look like the Oni Fury is going to be looked at here. Beautiful rotation in from Ducky. I think Paul using his ultimate to confirm the kill onto Quig was not the right call. That was their only way they could go for the Oni Fury. You saw the hesitation. It was immediately pulled. Sought dashed in to try and use the fear to cancel out Final Judgment, and that was the chain. And now it looks like Fire Giant is being pulled here. Dude Man Bro, not on the map. Their big crit ADC is not here. Do the Tartarus Titans know this is happening? Looks like not. Cyno is clearing a wave nearby, and he's the only one who's even close.
My goodness, there's drama afoot in game 4, and it's the Eldritch Hounds thankful for it. All 5 with FG. At the 15-minute mark, the pace of a game when the Hounds are playing aggressive and dictating how things go, it is lightning speed. Think back to game 1. It was still slow, but a bit closer to this pace. Game 2 and 3 slowed down, but the Titans able to force things. Now the scales have tilted back. Titans still an opportunity, though, for an Oni Fury. Dude Man Bro, no snipes. Earthshaker should do it. It does. Oni Fury for the Tartarus Titans. Still Fire Giant on 5, and 5 towers on the Tartarus Titans side of the map.
Ducky is 4 levels up right now. I mean, SOT can't buy enough farm. That Oni Fury is going to help him out, trying to catch back up, trying to alleviate some of the pressure, but there are plenty. 5 towers left on the map for the Eldritch Hounds to try and grab, and it looks like Tier 1 and mid will be first on that list. The Oni minion shouldn't be a big deal because they're able to just defend slowly, but it looks like the Tartarus Titans are going to step up here. They don't want to give these towers up for free because that would mean this gold lead gets to climb even further ahead. I think they still have plenty of damage. You can't just tank up a tower this early on. One thing to note, when you're getting a Fire Giant at 15 minutes and you want Ducky to be able to tank everything, It's not going to be easy. He only has Berserker Shield as his physical defense item for now. The Fire Giant regen will help, but you're still a level 18 Amaterasu that has to tank up a full tier 2 tower. It's going to be slow and trying to poke out, but Oathhh actually blinks in.
Wow, Ducky at level 19 at 17 minutes. Can follow up the damage, but it's Crimson with the final judgment that lets it fly. Paul answers back, stuns out from Stuart, and it's enough to drop Ducky. The Amaterasu now off the map. You needed your level 19 Ama from the solo lane. And you called it right, Trelly, tanking up the tower, way too much damage on the defense from the Titans. Crimson nearly grabs the kill.
Paladiagus.
Ducky was on pace to smash a level 20 at 20 minutes type of record, right? We were a minute or two away from it. Might be hard pressed to find it now. Hounds get a couple of towers, but Titans okay on the defense.
Good damage in from Crimson though. Getting Paladiagus down when the fight's already over, that's a big win. Cyno was able to steal away a blue buff in the meantime. This does put the brakes on the Fire Giant push for now, but you still have it on Crimson, Quig, and Dude Man, bro. I have to imagine, if the Hounds played that a bit slower, just went for left tier 1, mid tier 1, and then just used some poke from EruptCrimson, they would have been fine, but it seemed to me the call was, hey, Oathhh is going to ult up SOT, Ducky's going to distract, and Crimson's going to finish things off. The one thing they didn't consider is the fact that Ducky could die because he was so far ahead. And someone had to tank up that tower. The second Oathhh went up, he was no longer taking the tower, and it started to hurt. Right side tier 2 seems to be the call. You can tell Stuart just went back to base, so the Hounds have a bit of freedom here. 50 seconds left on their Fire Giant buff. But slowly and surely, I don't think they're actually going to walk up for this one. I think it was an attempt, and they're just going to retreat. Early Fire Giant doesn't net too much, but the Eldritch Hounds surely are feeling confident in the next fight. I mean, it's all on Crimson at this point. He's doing so much damage.
Oh, goodness. The desk hyped up the Thought pick. Ducky again. Oh, no. Has he stepped too far forward? Sure has again. The Amaterasu, the level 19 off the map, was 4 levels ahead of SOT a moment ago. Now only 3, and it's likely to close up a bit more. The Titans incensed with how this game has gone so far, sensing an opening. You don't have to deal with the tank. The shred becomes a bit easier under the remaining members of the Eldritch Hounds. Fire Giant buff falls off now. Really 3 towers, that's your swing. Strong for the Hounds, but it was not a steady uphill swing. Actually a couple stabilizations, in the gold department. In reality, Trelly, what was a fantastic call from the Hounds and still a net benefit. Was not a game-breaking type of moment for the Titans. They are very much in this, very much have the opportunity to defend.
Yeah, Ducky just hasn't really been able to upgrade the build too much. Right when they got that big influx of gold, it was spent on a full Toxic Blade. Can't help but think Emperor's Armor, Spirit Robe, something that would have made him a bit tankier. Could have been the better call, but no longer can make that decision. Fire Giant spawning back in 15 seconds. And Primal Fury about 40 seconds away. We are so early into this late game that Primal Fury still could be the priority here instead of that Fire Giant. Not to say that you want to give up Fire Giant, but the gold is still incredibly relevant this early on, especially when you don't have any level 20s on the side of the Tartarus Titans. Ducky's just going to split.
He still got it. He still got it. 20, was it like 20, 30 seconds or something over the 20-minute mark?
He still hit that 20 at 20. But he hasn't got any tankier. He wants that Death's Embrace.
Right.
Once he gets that, more healing for sure. But I'm still not seeing that ability to dive a tier 2 tower. Ducky's actually not leaving. I think he's got his upgraded teleport.
Yep.
So he wants to drag someone over. With this Trebuchet, this tier 2 tower will go down. But it looks like Ducky realizes, hey, no one's coming yet, so I'm going to stick around. My team's looking at Fire Giant. They know no one's there either.
Well, it shows you, I think, just how far ahead Ducky was. That Ducky's effectively been dead for the last 3 minutes of game time, and still is 3 levels ahead of SOT. Trebuchet pulled it. It's Stuart on the left side of the map. Hounds had actually pulled the FG and then drop it, despite Stuart being over here on left. And so still not fully happy, despite pulling the Ishtar over to the left side. Hounds who have been very headstrong in some of their shot calling so far this game. Not that headstrong, what would have been a headstrong call, while Stuart is over dealing with the waves on the left side of the map.
Yeah, would have preferred that, but it looks like Ducky made his
Would that have been
rotation
your
back
call?
over for sure.
Teleport in and pull FG while Stu's on left? Would that have been your call?
You don't even have to teleport. I think you're just faster than Stuart. I mean, Amaterasu
Sure,
is
just walk
so
faster.
quick. Now it looks like trying to poke out is the name of the game here, and you gotta look towards Crimson, has the best range on map. Ducky's gonna try to solo zone away this Vulcan, and Fire Giant has been started up. Not really fully committed to just yet. You know SOT and Aurora are gonna walk in, and see, right when they show up, immediately the Hounds show their hand. They stop, and they look to fight.
Earthshaker and Final Judgment both available. Are they both going to get used? Yes, they will! And it's the Titans who take the FG. Who else but Paul steps up and sought on the answer. But Doomman Bro, he's still alive. He steps forward. He's got the autos. Paul trading blows. And it's down to Ducky and Crimson. And Ducky and Crim are winning the day. Can Paul find the 2v1? Might be able to get the first. It's Fire Giant on Paul, and Paul alone, the playmaker, makes the play. Call it a wash on the right side of the map.
Yeah, but now I think Ducky and Crimson get to split up Paul a bit. He's making the smart play. He's going to go for mid-tier 1 tower, whereas Crimson and Ducky grab the tier 2 over on right. I think the Eldritch Hounds got the Fire Giant a little bit low if they were trying to bait, right? If they're looking for the fight after, you got to make sure that you're not letting it get in Earthshaker range, because Paul is going to make that play. But now, Paul has no relics. One evade and punish from EruptCrimson, and this Vulcan is deleted. And it looks like Phoenix is the call. Once those minions walk in, there's no way Crimson can get his autos in. And actually, he's going to have to respect this. Ducky wants to go for it, though.
Ducky's way too low, but he's got an ult. He's got an ult from Quig. Ducky's going to die anyway. It's right side Phoenix for Ducky. That's your call now. Aurora and Paul on the chase. SOT coming back from base as well. A slight knock aside onto Quig. At some point here, we'll be able to dash away. Dodges the hook from Aurora. Had to, otherwise we're maybe continuing this chase. Yeah, try to break that one down, Trelly. I don't know. You get a chaotic Fire Giant fight. Paul secures it. Then the carries stay alive. And we swing back and forth. Hounds will call it worth now that they got a right side Phoenix, but golden experience-wise, we've gone nowhere.
I think there's one key moment that made that worthwhile for the Titans. They 100% get wiped there if Dude Man Bro doesn't eat a full combo pre-Aegis from Paul. That Rama was absolutely shredding, went for this full crit build again. I saw him get a triple kill lineup, and then Paul stuffs him with a meatball and a backfire at the same time. Dude Man Bro then goes, oh man, that was a lot of damage, I'm gonna Aegis after, and the turret helps finish him off. If he pre-Aegises that combo, I'm thinking you have Rama, EruptCrimson, and Ducky alive against just Paul, and at that point, Paul's dead. You're losing a Phoenix and then some. But Paul makes a huge play and a little bit slow on the Aegis, and now you lose your right side Phoenix, which is not the end of the world, and the Eldritch Hounds have no Fire Giant to push with. I mean, it's sitting on Paul right now.
What drama has been sprinkled here into Game 4, and how important it is. Remember, the Eldritch Hounds will not be out of Worlds contention if they lose this match, they lose this game, but they will have to play tomorrow. The Highland Ravens assuredly watching this one, wondering who their opponent tomorrow will be and what will be a Worlds promotion and also knockout game. Both of our best of fives tomorrow will be that. Today, just promotions to the SWC quarterfinals. And we'll find out the quarterfinal matchups after the show tomorrow, where the captains of the 4 teams will choose what teams they want to play from the 4 that advance. And both of these teams looking real strong right now, as we've gone back and forth. More drama to be had, assuredly. Right side Phoenix still down. Cyno over there dealing with the fire minion wave. So some time has been bought for the Titans. Relic situation, fantastic. Only Aurora's Bracer down. Everyone else in the game, everything at their disposal.
I'm a little confused what the Hounds are doing here. If they didn't want to fight a 5v4, why does this fight look any better? We'll see. Maybe because Stuart's missing half his HP.
Yeah, clip Stu. Oh, Crim dashes away, and he's pulled back into the Phoenix line. It's Auror hand delivering the mid laner to Paul's doorstep. Quig will ult away, but Cyno still an opportunity to engage on the Eldritch Hounds. Quig solo might just need to trade his life. The taunt slows down the engage, and Ducky ushering his team away from the chase of the Titans. And Quig takes pathing that pulls the Titans away from the other 2. And I agree, Trelly, there's a bit of confusion. You don't have Fire Giant. You didn't want to fight a 4v5. earlier on. You take the push, and Tartarus Titans make you pay.
Yeah, that's just something, I think if the Hounds could watch that back, they go, okay, wait, we knew Cyno wasn't right, we pinged him, we decided this isn't a good fight. Cyno showed up, the rest of the Titans got out grouped, they're like, now it looks a lot better. We don't know why, but we're gonna go in. It was a great ult. Yeah, Stuart got half health. There was no finish. Stuart didn't even end up relicking. Quig dashes in, gets stuck in the Pillars of Agony. He's underneath a Phoenix, and that started to really eat him up. He used the Defender of Olympus to get out, but the rest of the team just unfortunately falls down. Crimson wasn't a good position, but good beads does not become a good bead once Aror can pull you back in with the landfall.
Right.
And now Fire Giant is up. There's a lot of relics down on the side of both teams, but Paul and Stuart goes untouched. I'm assuming the Tartarus Titans feeling a little bit more confident going for this pull.
I'm not sure my heart can take another Fire Giant duel between a Final Judgment and an Earthshaker. Ducky, way on the left side of the map, has upgraded TP. So the question is, can he pull someone over again? I mean, surely an Amaterasu with this type of attack speed can solo a Phoenix, but it's going to take a little bit of time. It's Cyno who's over towards the left. Now the question is, are the Hounds in a position to immediately do something about the 4v5 in the Fire Giant pit? Not quite. Clearing the mid lane camps. Cyno will deal with the left side minions just fine. But not a full grouping from the Hounds, while the Titans are as 4 behind the FG pit.
Yeah, looks like Ducky's plan worked. You pulled Cyno away, but once
do it again.
Are you going to teleport back in?
Who do you like in that 1v1? Do you think you see those two fighting, Cyno and Ducky?
With the way that Cyno's built, I don't think he wants to fight Ducky. I mean, he went for the Berserker Shield and the Magi. He's killing squishies. And Ducky's got the Toxic Blade and can also choose to run away at any moment if he doesn't like the fight. So it looks like no 1v1 going to happen. Ducky has not left, though. He is still sticking over there. He's got purple buff as well. He has good attack speed. Someone will eventually have to deal with this, but I don't see why the Tartarus Titans don't just go for the fight here, and it looks like they might be forced into it.
It's Aror who's taunted forward. Where is Ducky? Still dealing with waves on left. Earthshaker onto Oathhh, and that's a kill, but there's good damage out from EruptCrimson. And it's just Oathhh who's dead. Again, it feels disjointed a bit by the Eldritch Hounds. Sot heads back to base. He'll deal with Ducky on the left, but he does not have teleport. Stuart also back in base. So still opportunities for a numbers advantage. Oathhh dead for 40. Hounds maybe now just trying to delay.
Yeah, if I'm Najah, there's no way I'm ulting Aror. Like, that's just never happening. Unless it's a taunt into a Sunder, into a full combo from Crimson, then I'm ulting him, sure. But when you come down, you are landing in an Earthshaker 10 out of 10 times, and you're not getting any value from it. I mean, Crimson hit a big ult. It did not just hit Aror, it also clipped SOT, but just not enough follow-up. Now, you're in a position where it's Enhanced Fire Giant. We are 30 minutes into this game. You don't have your jungler, and Ducky's not split pushing anymore. It's a 5v4, and here comes Cyno.
Cyno has found Crimson. What a target for the Titans jungler to grab, but Aror concerned about Quig elsewhere. Crim cannot turn it around. Dude, man, bro, can't either. And in one fell swoop, Ducky, Crim, they're both gone. Quig is as well. It's a respawn through from Oathhh, and the Tartarus Titans get 4 on the right side.
They do get 4, but Paul has both relics available. It looks like that tier 2 tower will drop, but don't have the HP bars to walk in for Phoenix. They're going to have to back up and go for the Enhanced Fire Giant. If Paul didn't have relics, maybe Oathhh takes that 1v1, but wasn't even able to hit the sash, and now EFG goes down. Unfortunate for Crimson, tried to dash before that knockup from Cyno even landed. Couldn't get it off and loses that trade. Still hit him for the Final Judgment for about 1100. But it was not a 1v1 that you ever want to take. A bit of a disjointed fight there for the Eldritch Hounds. And now you're definitely losing that right side Phoenix for free, no contest. What happens after, though, we'll have to see after Oathhh goes back to base. Tartarus Titans are going to play this one slow, get the Phoenix and back up.
Yeah, just the right side bird, the only one that's open. 2 tier 2 towers still remain. I mean, it has been cool, calm, and collected play from the Titans. But I think you can tell, Trelly, it's been a bit, I mean, confused probably not the right word, but I don't think the Hounds knew exactly what they wanted to do with the Ducky split push. There was no immediate grouping on the FG when Cyno was pulled over and then Sot was pulled over. And really, just a big roundabout gank. Cyno onto EruptCrimson makes a massive difference there in that fight. Good news is for the Eldritch Hounds, the Phoenix that you're dealing with is fine. However, for now, you're going to be pulled to the opposite side of the map. Because it's not the Fire Giant you're contesting with, it's likely the Titans pulling over to left. But this late in the game, Trelly, I mean, it's easy for me to look at the top of the screen, say 4K for the Titans, but it feels a bit closer than that.
Definitely does. Ducky's able to deal with this fire wave. He could always teleport back to the Phoenix if he feels like he's in trouble, and it looks like he's just going to return to base. It's going to be hard to push in to this Thoth. You can see why. His half-health Paul with a dash means he's in trouble if Cyno finds him, but Cyno's on the right side of the map, so we'll be fine now. If you're a carry, you can't just step into a Phoenix unless someone's on EruptCrimson. Cyno and SOT have one job: stop the Thoth from just wailing away with all this damage. And it looks like Ducky's able to stop the split push of Cyno as well, so the Hounds are going to be bunkered down. Poly shots from the Hades, though, could start to add up here on this Phoenix if Chaac can start using them. But he's a little bit fearful of the poke as well. Remember, he's built a lot of damage. It's just the Heart Ward and the upgraded Tainted Breastplate that is going to help him to try and lift this damage.
Crimson's really got to think about when he wants to let the final judgment go. Because not only will that start his Staff of Mirrodin, it's a big bit of burst damage that's missing. Oathhh pulled in. Ultimate out of Stuart. Uh-oh. SOT on the front line of the fight. He gets melted down just a bit. Quig left alone, and Paul is unstoppable. He's taking the game over. Ah, but Crimson answers back. These mid laners will not give it up. And it's a trade out on either side.
Tier 2 tower still to go through on the left. You've got some time if you're the Hounds to heal up, but the Tartarus Titans, they're feeling confident after that kill onto Quig. Beautiful ultimate there from Paul. But Crimson makes sure to get one of his own. Trading support for jungle. Quig's definitely going to be back a bit sooner, and he's got ultimate to join if he needs to. But they're not leaving anywhere. SOT stealing the red buff away, while the rest of the Titans are going to step up, but they don't have a linear engage.
No.
It's Aror getting a pull, and if not, they cannot step in for this. But SOT does have that blink. No Pillar of Agony. He's going to blink it and maybe look for a fear. The Phoenix has to be the target, but they know without their jungler, without another target to go to Crim, they're going to have to back up. 2 birds down. They're happy with that.
I was going to say, we're looking at the diamonds. Which ones fill up first? It's where you might see the initiation fly in from either team. Just now, most of the ults coming back up. Gold Fury for the Titans. If there were power potions or items that needed to be completed, that'll help out, but outside of that, not wildly important. Map states your difference maker here at the 35-minute mark. Either the Titans win this game, they go to Worlds, send the Hounds to tomorrow, or the Eldritch Hounds win one more fight, shove it into the base of the Tartarus Titans, and send us to a game 5. Both options equally tantalizing here, Trelly. The Hounds have performed admirably regardless of the outcome of this game, and the Titans have really swung in both games 2 and game 3 in a brawl in our fourth and what could be final game of this set. Hounds had opportunities to maybe close the door a bit further, but again, some veteranship from the Titans stabilizes, take a deep breath, and have completely flipped this game around. You can tell just by body language now, too. It's the Titans feeling a bit emboldened, and it's the Titans who may end up finding Quig. A hook out from Aror, though. Just short miss. 20 seconds left on the Fire Giant. Hounds, you don't have far to go, but you do have to leave. Deal with these fire minions at certain rates.
Yeah, Ducky clears very fast, so that's not going to be the biggest issue. That right side bird is weak, but once that fire wave over on right gets cleared, they should be fine. But Crimson, you're so close.
Oh, this is dangerous. Oh, this is dangerous.
So
it's bad.
on.
Oh, it's bad. Crimson backs away. So initiation from Aror. Actually now off the map. SOT has found Crimson. Aegis helps, but it's not enough. Crim is down. They have caught out the mid laner of the Hounds. And now the dominoes fall. It's a double kill for Cyno. Paul at 9-2, willing his team back to the SMITE World Championships. A Worlds without Paul is not a world I want to live in, and I won't have to. The Titans go into the SWC.
I cannot believe the Eldritch Hounds not only fumbled a bit of their lead, but walked up into the jungle. Aurora already showed his hand. He's like, we don't want to go for this enhanced Fire Giant. We want to walk up. We want to fight you at this Phoenix. Missed the first pluck. Shame on you. Walks up, hits the second pluck, and SOT makes the clutch blink to catch Crimson. And that's when the fight really kicked off. The Tartarus Titans. I saw one stumble in game number 1. After that, they really cleaned up that play.
That's what I was talking about with body language there towards the end of that game. You know, the The Hounds were able to defend a bit of those fire waves, but it's just that positioning in the jungle where the Titans are able to find those little nooks and crannies, and one member of the Hounds left alone and ends up being a difference maker. And what's worse is that it's Crim, right, who had done so well in that game. Such a good game 4 from Crimson. And that was a wonderful battle. Think about Crim versus Paul that game, the Fire Giant Steel contest that was going on. I mean, it was such a great story. And now the stage is set for the Eldritch Hounds up against the Highland Ravens for a spot at Worlds tomorrow. That is going to be an incredible set. Can't wait to see that one. But for now, we got to talk about the Titans. We got to talk about Paul and the rest of his squad headed back to Worlds. We won't do it, though. Desk will take care of it.
And the good news for the Tartarus Titans is their qualification for Worlds stops here. They have made it there now, and we'll be awaiting as to which of the 4 teams that have already made it there is going to pick an opponent like this, because what an explosive turnaround the Titans had from Game 1 Mifflin, even kind of from earlier on in just this game as well. I mean, the Tartarus Titans were falling a little bit behind. Crimson was finding some pop-offs on this Thoth. It really felt like a battle of the mid laners here. In the pregame interview, Crimson said, man, I've never faced off against Paul. Now I got a good taste of what it is to face off against world champion caliber performance of a player like that one. This constant clash in the mid lane, this back and forth action, really kept this game exciting the whole way through.
There are not many people in the world that want to have it be a contest between mids up against Paul from PC, okay?
Right.
I mean, that guy is just different when he finds the opportunity. Of course, Crimson, though, you have to sing his praises, even in a loss here. His performance on Thoth individually nearly put the Hounds in a winning position, but the second that game turns around, I think is when the Titans figured out how to jump onto Crimson. Once SOT was blinking on him consistently in that back line, once Cyno was getting on him as well, Crimson wasn't allowed to be that long-range artillery damage that was really propelling the Hounds forward, and instead he was retreating the entire time, trying to find some space, and the Titans didn't let him breathe.
No, it was a very tough position for Crimson to be in, and having to be that long-range carry forward. And even you go back to the Fire Giant juggle that happened previously, Paul was able to make a turnaround for his team out there. We've got the Tartarus Titans, a big win for them in game number 4, and one of the big hitters for this team, SOT, standing by for the post-game interview.
SoloOrTroll, my goodness, what a game 4 that was. Look, game 1's a bit of a stumble. You guys, I think, recenter yourselves. Game 2, game 3, and you're actually down a bit there in game 4. Talk me through the emotions of that match a bit. Were you caught a bit off guard in game 1? What did it take to kind of take a deep breath there in 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, sure. So the first game we had a pretty clear plan, and I think, unfortunately, we kind of stumbled ourselves. Like, we made a lot of plays early game, and we kind of just gave them kind of the lead. We threw like twice, and we were still confident though, because like it's not like we got like hardcore outplayed. We just kind of we stumbled a bit ourselves, and they're a great team, so it's not like these guys suck and like we shouldn't be losing. They're actually a really good team, and are probably going to go to Worlds maybe, but we weren't too worried, and we were still confident, and we just stuck to our guts and stuck to our guns. So.
How about the emotions of the last, I don't know what, couple of months here, the end of Phase 3, not what you guys had written up, I'm sure. Phase 3 playoffs, opportunities to go to Worlds there. That was a tough event. Now you finally make it. You check the box. You're going to Worlds no matter what. You don't know your opponent yet. Is it a weight off? You know you're there. Anything can happen at the event. What are the emotions like with that?
I mean, we're just happy, obviously. I mean, I would say there's like no weight off at all. I mean, we're still, pedal to the floor. We're mainly just focused on just the road ahead. I mean, we kind of expected us to go to Worlds. I mean, obviously we're confident in ourselves, and we expect to go to Worlds. So it's sort of, nothing crazy. But we're definitely happy. I mean, obviously it's great to be at Worlds. Like actually confirmed, and finally to be actually like at a in-person Worlds. Like I haven't been there since 2019. So I mean, I'm extremely happy personally. So yeah.
Agreed. It's awesome for you guys, awesome for all of us. So one guaranteed SEC team, that'll be from this group. It'll be Hounds or Ravens from this group, but an SEC team, Hex Mambo, still alive in Group B. You think there's a shot for another SEC team to make it out of that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a shot, but we'll see. I mean, I think there's definitely a shot. Like, I think there's actually like a decent chance. I think the Oni Warriors are probably going to make it for sure. I think they're a great team. But I mean, the rest is kind of a toss-up. I think Scarabs are also a great team. I thought they're actually really good, but they stumbled a bit versus the Hex Mambo. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, there are much of great teams here at this tournament, so I mean, it really is anyone's game.
Yeah, look, it's been a lot of drama as I've been describing it, a lot of great SMITE. But for now, you can take a deep breath. Pedals to the floor, though, Sot. I'm watching you guys. Tartarus Titans, they'll be at Worlds. Sot will be at Worlds. Congrats to you guys. We'll go back to the desk to wrap this one up.
Yeah, sigh of relief for the Tartarus Titans is they've made it to the SWC. They don't have to play through any more games to figure out if they get there. Again, all they wait now is who's going to pick the Tartarus Titans to face off against them in the quarterfinals. Remember, the first 4 teams that made it there from the Phase 3 playoffs will get to pick in seeding order which team they want to face off against. And Tartarus Titans, they're going to come this red hot. I don't know if I want to be trying to pick this team as a first-round draft out there. Paul looks really good this game. SOT throughout the entire set really is able to step it up. I'd say barring that first game, which it seems that the team has kind of pushed that one away from them, everybody really stepping up in their role. But, I mean, Myth, it kind of comes down to what we talked about from Game 2 into Game 3, where once you start getting into the depths of these Game 5s, you start letting a couple of picks through that you normally wouldn't. The Naja gets through, goes over to Oathhh, but this Hades that has been constantly top banned from just about everybody makes it through, and SOT shows why you should be banning it out.
That Hades was just so disruptive in the back line, initiating very well, starting off the fights with fears, forcing the leaps aggressively, and then chasing down with the Pillars of Agony just made it very difficult for anybody from the Eldritch Hounds to find any sort of escape, really. I mean, it cost them their relics every single time. Besides SOT, we've talked about him enough. I think we got to talk about Stuart as well, because it's been a generally bit more of a quiet week from Stu. I think a bounce back set, massive going into Worlds, and this is one I think he can hang his hat on. A very impressive performance from him, especially here in Game 4. This Ishtar was establishing pressure, rotating around the map, getting involved, even initiating a couple of the fights himself. Great stuff from him.
I mean, you just kind of talk about even maybe the career of Stuart in the ESPL. I mean, he has gone through the ringer of having to step into Zapman's shoes by joining the Solar Scarabs earlier
Shoes
on.
are so big.
Really having to kind of fight his way through the second half of Season 8. Had a standout performance going into Worlds at that point, even able to get a set off the Jade Dragons, reclaim that Dragon Slayer title. Then has gone through roster changes at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, now moving to a whole new team in Phase number 3. Stuart has really had quite the career so far for the SPL and has had a great performance today. Will now be going to the SWC one more time, but this time with the Tartarus Titans alongside him. Some veteranship from Paul, Aror, Cyno, and SOT joining the ranks as well.
So now the Tartarus Titans can buckle down. SOT said, look, happy personally, but maybe still keeping his eyes towards Worlds, a competitor mentality to be sure. And a lot of teams now have got additional data on what the Tartarus Titans are looking like going into Worlds. Again, we haven't seen the teams that have auto-qualified for going on an entire month now. You better believe they're watching. They're watching and studying and figuring out exactly what worked here for the Titans. Oh, that set was generating a lot of pressure. How do we play around that? Okay, well, if we ban that, it'll go to the Vulcan. That type of stuff can really add up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Tartarus Titans, as we get closer to Worlds, next week, by the way, they're going to have to develop maybe 1 or 2 more strategies so they can find some wins.
Yeah, we are 6 days away from SWC at this point, so not a whole lot more strategy that can be developed over the time, just doubling down on what they've already gotten and maybe trying to find one extra little back there. But let's take a look at the bracket, because that was just Group A, and that was only our first match of today. The first best of 5 of the weekend now complete, with the Tartarus Titans on a 3-1. They have qualified to the SWC, and now it'll be the Eldritch Hounds and the Highland Ravens, the #1 NASCC and #2 EUSCC, squaring off for only one more spot in this group at a chance for the SWC. A guaranteed 1 SCC team will be making it to Worlds. But it's not only one SCC team that has the chance to make it there. If we go over to the other group, in Group B, there is still an opportunity for us to maybe see 2 with Hex Mambo. They're going to be facing off against the Oni Warriors in our very next matchup, another best of 5 between these teams out there. The winner of that qualifies to SWC. Loser will have a matchup against the Solar Scarabs. And if, and I'm only going to say if, because obviously we still have to go through the whole set, Hex Mambo does fall down, we'll have a grudge match from the very beginning of our week.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Group B. I would argue so far, from the performances we've seen from every single team, the Oni Warriors, as of now, are looking like the strongest team in contention. They have been very clean in the one set we've had the opportunity to watch. We'll see whether or not they can continue doing so up against Hex Mambo. But when I talked to the Warriors, when I got a chance to speak with Chaac, he seems very, very confident. I don't need to tell you guys at home, Hex Mambo also seem very confident as well. I think sparks will fly. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see this game and this set take it the full distance. I'm expecting long games between these two.
Yeah, we'll definitely be expecting some long matchups out there. Hex Mambo, one more opportunity for them, this time to try and qualify into the SWC. Can they do it? Can they break through the Oni Warriors, or is it going to be another SPL squad making it to the SWC? All that and more can be coming up right after this break.